Konnichiwa, bitches. Welcome to the post-draft edition of the Ultimate Man's League podcast. I'm the commish, joined live in studio by Connor Hemming. Connor, how are you?
Hey, Doug. I'm doing great.
Thanks for joining us, Connor. So, obviously, if you missed the draft, Joe, Alex, half of Adam, you really missed out on a good one. Lots of fun stuff. Anyway, we're going to go team by team today and kind of break down each individual draft pick, some picks we like, some letter grades. But before that, very important announcement. The first waiver claim period is tonight. So get your keepers in, preferably before midnight. I don't think you really need to have them in before like 3 a.m., but I doubt you're going to be putting them in between midnight and 3 a.m. So get those in tonight. Tonight. Not the end of the world. If you don't pick, you moved up the list, and it's not going to reset. So just bear that in mind. All righty then. So I'm going to go ahead and turn on the screen share so y'all can look at the draft board. Connor, is there anything you want to add before we go to screen share?
Let's do it.
Let's do this.
Oh, and keep asking questions.
Yeah. Whoever asks
enough.
the most questions will get a State of the Franchise done for them, which will be a standalone, shorter form podcast. All right. So here we are looking at the draft board. Why don't we just start right from the left? And we'll go pick by pick and grade the picks with AJ's team man bear pick. Why don't you start us off with Saquon Barkley?
I'm going to give that a solid A. I think it was the best choice to make with the first overall pick. It was kind of a no-brainer this year. Sometimes it's a bit harder, but I think he's got the youth, he's got the talent. Couldn't ask for a better pick.
Yeah, absolutely. I would also give that an A. Saquon Barkley projects to be a workhorse running back in a league where there are no workhorse running backs. So great pick by AJ, not getting seduced by any of the good reports about Christian McCaffrey or the health reports of Dalvin Cook or, maybe any of those other guys. So nice job by AJ. Just, take him what the defense gives him, so to speak. In the second round, he followed up with Marshawn Lynch, a very popular pick that we did in a lot of the mock drafts. Marshawn Lynch looks to be the unquestioned starting running back for what should be a decent offense. They have a good offensive line. They have a decent quarterback. What do we think about this Marshawn Lynch pick in the second round?
Well, for this pick, I think it also helps to look at what came before. We had Nick Chubb, Penny, Johnson. All the rookies went off the board very quickly. Top-end rookies, high draft pick rookies, I would say. And with that all gone, that's the only thing AJ could have banked on with this second-round pick. So to go old now, yes, it doesn't fit AJ's team exactly, but it was by far the best talent at running back. So I'm going to go ahead and give another A to AJ here for Marshawn Lynch.
Yeah, I agree. It's not exactly the most exciting pick, but definitely one that helps his team. In the third round, he grabs wide receiver Golden Tate. Kind of a similar analysis to Marshawn Lynch. Not overly exciting, but a receiver he's going to be able to start every week on a team that really needed a receiver he can start every week.
Well, I agree. I think he could have gone younger and maybe gone with a Corey Davis, taking a shot at a guy like that. So for that reason, I'm going to give him a B on Golden Tate here rather than an A. I think it was a solid choice, but for his team, Golden Tate wasn't the best fit to me.
Yeah, Golden Tate's still a good player, and he probably won't live to regret it, but he could have done better. In the fourth round, he grabbed Buck Allen, and I thought this was really surprising. I thought, frankly, this was a bad pick. What were your thoughts on this, Connor?
Bad. I don't know if I go that far. I think he's going to get his pass catching ability showcased this season. However, there was probably a guy like Corey Clement there that he could have taken, or even later. He could have gone with maybe a more short thing. That's where it starts to get hard. Honestly, Giovanni Bernard, that's an obvious choice. I think both of those guys would have been much better picks. So for that reason, I would probably I'd give a D here. It's a little harsh, almost a C to me, but it's just got to be a D just because there's two guys that he should not have passed on, especially for one that's on his own team. Do you think he'd want to root for that?
Right. I'm going to also go with a D. My knee jerk was to give an F, but I think Buck Allen will have a little bit of utility this season as a passing down back in which should be an okay offense, I think, but definitely could have done better there. In the 5th round, he took the second rookie quarterback off the board in Buffalo's Josh Allen. I personally wasn't a huge fan of this pick just because AJ doesn't really need a guy that's going to play this year. And obviously, Josh Allen is. He could have taken, Darnold. He could have taken Rosen. Both guys I like better than Allen. But if that's the guy you like, do you really have a problem with it? What's your thoughts on this one, Connor?
If you had told me, that the start of preseason or even right after the draft had happened, that Josh Allen was the second rookie quarterback off the board, I would have told you that was a terrible decision. But watching him play in the preseason games, he looks like a guy who could really get some fantasy points. So I don't hate it as much as I originally would have. That being said, I think it was a little early and probably not the right guy for him. So I'm going to give him, just because of all the other available rookies still there, I'm going to give him a C on this one.
A C, I think, is pretty fair. It's also really hard to tell how he's going to be. He, of all the rookie quarterbacks, I think he probably has the biggest range of outcomes. On one end, he could be a, Ryan Leaf level failure, and on the other end, he could be a Brett Favre, crazy arm talent. Maybe throws a lot of picks, but yeah, definitely makes some plays. So I'll also give that one a C. We have not disagreed once on this team. So we'll move on from there. The next pick he made, he had a long wait here.
Which is another reason to give him a little benefit of the doubt on Josh Allen. He did have a long
He wasn't getting a rookie quarterback after that.
If he were to take a rookie, at least he made the decision to do it right there.
Yeah. In the 11th round, Austin Eckler from Los Angeles Chargers. What was your thoughts on this one?
I get that. I think it was a kind of a savvy pick out of hearing about the camp reports. Austin Eckler seemed to be a darling. But for what his team needs are, I think it was just not the right move. I mean, there were still rookies to be taken. Kalen Ballage was the next pick. I think we had, all of my running back choices later in later rounds. John Kelly was still available. He needed to, if there wasn't the best available guy or Doug Walton, if there wasn't another available guy to, sit on, he could have at least taken, Frank Gore and had something that maybe would have added up to more this season. Either he should have just taken a guy that's not going to play this year and benefit from that in future seasons, or he should have taken a more sure thing. Austin Eckler is just a backup. He's a great backup, but I just don't see him worth – he could be one of his bye-week fillers, and he's not going to get much out of that. He needs an injury for that to matter. So I would give this pick a D. I really don't like this one. This might be where we disagree.
Yeah, I like Austin Eckler as a player. I think maybe a little bit more than you do. I'm going to give this one a C just because I think he will have a little bit of utility, even if Melvin Gordon, stays healthy in that kind of running back 4, running back 5 range where you can use him a little bit in those bye weeks and get, 7-8 points out of him. But I'm not sure. I'm not crazy about the value. I think you probably could have gotten him a few rounds later. So Austin Eckler. Moving on to one of my favorite picks that AJ made, Cleveland Browns rookie wide receiver Antonio Callaway. Now, this is a guy who probably would have gone in the first, maybe early second round of the draft if he wasn't a complete bonehead. AJ grabs him here with the last pick of the 12th round. What were your thoughts on this?
Yeah, we said somebody'd have to have some serious stones to draft him, and apparently AJ's up for that. I think his team can afford to make that kind of risk.
It's actually a good fit, yeah.
Yeah, he needs a boom or bust kind of guy here, and if he gets that boom, his team instantly gets that much better. I think it was a perfect pick for him here. He was one of the best teams to make that decision outside of a real competitor, just kind of affording it. So I would give him an A on this one. I think.
Yeah, I'm going to give him an A too. This is one of those picks because he kind of had a lot of bad stuff happen to this receiving core in the offseason. Jordan Matthews lost his job to Eric Decker, who then retired the day after the draft. Sorry, AJ. But what I really like is the pairing of Antonio Callaway with Golden Tate, because Golden Tate's a receiver he can play every week, like we mentioned earlier. And if Antonio Callaway runs into some trouble or something or starts slow, then that'll be something that can kind of mitigate that risk factor. So I'm also going to give that one an A. Nice pick by AJ there. In the 14th round, AJ followed up with a Jonnu Smith. Yeah, Jesse James, who pulled up lame in practice, I guess, and then Jack Doyle, who's going to be splitting reps with Eric Ebron on this team. So is Jonnu Smith the guy that's going to help this year or more in the future?
I think it will definitely be in the future. The reason why I like this pick, I don't love this pick, is that you look later, Carlos taking Vance McDonald an impact player now, still somewhat young. And then your brother, Tim, actually took Mark Andrews later than this, and he, I think, would have been probably the better value for him to have taken there, especially with the injury concerns and the missing of 3 to 4 weeks. He's going to be the standout guy there in Baltimore, and I think he could really make an impact. And there are other backups that will probably play sooner, like Tyler Kroft, or whoever makes it out of the Rams could have been a better situation. Jonas Smith's a great late pick. If that were the 16th round pick or 17th, I think that would be an awesome keeper. 14 was a little high, but if he likes him, I don't blame him. So I'm going to give him a B for it either way.
Yeah, I'm gonna go with a C. I don't think. I mean, they just gave Delaney Walker that contract extension. Who knows when he's going to get his chance out there? They also Corey Davis, Taywan Taylor looks like he might be something. So I really think that Jonas Smith that pick could have been better spent on another wide receiver. This is a very wide receiver poor team. I mean, he's going to be starting Antonio Callaway in week 1 most likely, along with Kenny Stills.
Yeah, with the hit of Jordan Matthews and Eric Decker now off of his board. Mm-hmm. Yeah, he's got very limited wide receivers.
Yeah, at the time of keeping Jordan Matthews, I thought it was fine, but now it looks really bad. His final pick was in round 16. Darren Sproles, a 34-year-old diminutive running back coming off 2 major injuries on the same play. What did you think of this one?
Like I had said before, he had an opportunity earlier where he could have had the better Philadelphia running back, and so to have him go and grab Sproles here in the 16th, it's just kind of overkill. Could he still have had John Kelly, or is that the other way around?
It goes the other way.
He still could have had a Chase Edmonds. He could have had
Chris
Jeremy
Ivory.
Hill.
Yeah.
He could have taken a stab at somebody with a bit more to him. Darren Sproles is on his way out. It's an old player, not what he wants. He's not going to be keeping this next year, even if he does succeed. And I'm going to give it an F.
I'm going to also give it an F. My big issue with this is that he's got to cut him for a kicker anyway. So if you got to cut somebody for a kicker, draft a rookie wide receiver, draft a rookie draft Kyle Lauletta for all I care. Like, do anything other than draft Darren Sproles. I think this was one of the worst. Frankly, I think this was one of the worst picks of the entire draft. It's a 16th round pick. It's not going to kill him, but it's one of those things that it's one of those kind of rookie mistakes that AJ used to make a lot, and kind of thought he was over it. But it's one of those things. It shows lack of growth, and AJ, you should be ashamed of yourself. Overall roster grade looks to be in like the low B, high C range. So we'll call it a B for AJ's draft. Moving on to Steve. Steve had the second pick of the draft and the first shock of the draft when everybody in the room expected him to take Dalvin Cook. He took a long time on the clock for that pick and walked up the card and announced Christian McCaffrey for the Panthers. What was your reaction, and what's your analysis of the pick?
Well, the first thing I want to say, Doug, is I feel like I'm in like a booth with you at like a game right now. Because people can't see this at the moment, but we're just like making eye contact and like awkwardly talking to each other. It's pretty fantastic. Either way, I was a bit shocked. I thought Dalvin Cook was in the bag. He's already owned him, but maybe from already owning him, he had that hesitation. I mean, Dalvin Cook is coming off of a very serious injury. Christian McCaffrey is a PPR stud. It's kind of a toss-up anyway. I don't hate that he chose this. I do think Dalvin Cook has the higher ceiling, but I think McCaffrey has the higher floor at the same time. So I'm still going to give this an A. I think it was still a smart choice. The only way he could have not is if he didn't pick one of these 2 players.
Yeah, I can agree with that. I will give it a B just because I think I like Cook better. But the ACL is not nothing. That is something to be concerned with. But Christian McCaffrey is at best third in line for goal line carries on his own team, and that just I think limits his upside. But
the catches, Doug, the catches.
Dalvin Cook is going to get a lot of catches.
True.
So I think the touchdown upside. But with the injury, Christian McCaffrey, you want to shake things up. Fantasy's supposed to be fun. If you're going to have more fun with Christian McCaffrey on your team, I think you did the right thing. In the second round, Connor, we were talking about this off the air. Steve trades up, I think twice. He had to trade up to get to number 11, and grabs Tampa Bay rookie running back Ronald Jones. What were your thoughts on this one?
To trade up and take Jones, to me, is very interesting. There was still Kerryon Johnson on the board. Even to some extent, you could say Rashad Penny has had a better offseason than Jones at this point. He's been a very lackluster, negative training camp. Um, that said, I think Jones, out of the available rookie talents, it still has a potential to be a good player, but I still don't love it. I don't even think I like it. So I'm going to go ahead and I'm going to give it a D on this one.
A D on Ronald Jones. I'll be a little bit more forgiving on that. He is one of the more talented rookie running backs and does have that upside. So I will give it a C. I wasn't super crazy about the value though, like you said.
I mean, I'm speaking strictly value. I mean, do I think Ronald Jones could make me look like a fool by the end of the season if Steve were to make a mental note of this and go back to me later and say, Connor, you thought this was a terrible pick.
And just cut the clip.
and then, you know, and I totally think he has the ability to prove me wrong. I just think that it was too soon for him. That's all.
For sure. This actually kind of ties right into one of our questions that we had on the UML chat page, where Steve asked, does he have enough at running back to be competitive this season? So he's got, who does he have? He's got McCaffrey, he's got Jones, he's got McCaffrey, he's got Jones, and then he's got Jordan Howard, Kalen Ballage, and Matt.
Oh, actually, before we go to Nate, Steve did ask this question: do I have enough at running back?
Well, that's what I'm talking about. We're going over Steve's running backs.
Oh, I thought you skipped ahead. Okay, never mind.
Jordan Howard and Matt Breida, basically the guys. Does he have enough at running back to be competitive? I'll say yes, he does. To be competitive, I don't know that he has enough to win. What are your thoughts?
I mean, there's definitely better running back cores, but to have Christian McCaffrey and Jordan Howard, not only do you have a real variety there too. You have one guy that strictly catches passes to make his worth. You've got another guy that just barrel rolls into the end zone. That's a nice combo. The problem is I don't really see, especially with him taking Jones, if he had taken a more sure thing, he would have had a much stronger third running back. You know, maybe if he had taken Kerryon Johnson instead, or I mean, pretty much just Kerryon Johnson with what was left available. But
Marshawn Lynch.
Maybe Marshawn Lynch. But I mean, he does want to draft young. But I think those two guys are strong enough where it's not going to hurt you, but you better have the other things going on with your roster to make up for it. And I think he has Matt Ryan. He has Evan Ingram at tight end. He's got some promising wide receivers. You know, it could happen. I think he's definitely a playoff team, most likely. I mean, that's going to be for a state of the franchise. But
sure.
I think it's enough. I'll say that.
Yeah, it's not necessarily a deficiency. He follows that up after a long wait. He grabs himself a Mike Gesicki, rookie tight end out of Penn State for the Dolphins. What did we think about the Mike Gesicki picky?
I think it's a great pick. I think out of all of these tight ends, not only does he get the value of him for future years, he's going to have somebody that's going to impact right now. I mean, he's already got Evan Ingram and Cameron Brate. I guess you could say maybe he didn't need to take him. But, you know, with Cameron Brate in the situation with O.J. Howard, you know, Mike Gesicki is going to be that sure thing. Maybe he can free up his 10th round pick next year of Cameron Brate if Mike Gesicki looks that good. I'm going to give it a B just because it wasn't a complete necessity, but I think 9th round is a very decent value, especially when the first rookie tight end was Dallas Goedert going off before that. I think he got the better of the two for an immediate impact.
Yeah, I'll give it a B as well. I think he's a good pass catcher. He's not a blocker at all, but they knew that when they drafted him. They don't need him to be in Adam Gase's offense. I think this will end up being a pretty good player for him. I'm not sure about this year, but that's why he's got Cameron Brate. He follows it up in the 11th round by grabbing Kalen Ballage, rookie running back for the Dolphins as well. So back-to-back Miami Dolphins here. Felt a little early to me. What was your thoughts on Kalen Ballage?
It felt early, but you got to take who you want sometimes. So if that's the rookie, I mean, if you had told, you could have made the same case for me last season when I took Kamara in the 6th round. People looked at me like I was crazy. But, you know, if you like that player, take him. And especially in the 11th round, you're already in the double digits. I don't think it's too early for anything at that point. That being said, I don't know that Kalen Ballage is going to be a guy that may ever see the field. He's had a bad offseason. As long as Drake's there, it's going to eat in. Frank Gore will be gone, so I think he does have a hope. I think it's a good speculative ad. I would give it a solid C.
Yeah, I gave it a C as well. We're not gonna know until next season. He's kind of a guy that he doesn't have we talk about on this show all the time, path to playing time. He doesn't have a great one. His next pick after that was Jets wide receiver Robbie Anderson. Like the value here personally. They don't have a lot much else on that team for wide receivers, and he's a big play threat. What are your thoughts on Robbie Anderson, 13th round?
It's really good value. I'm not a fan of the Jets wide receiver situation. I think it's a bit crowded. But that being said, Robbie Anderson's the best. As long as he doesn't get suspended, I think it was a really, really quality pick. I mean, I would probably give it begrudgingly a B. I don't love it, but I think it's really good value.
Yeah, I'll give it a B for value. It's one of those things. He's probably not going to use him that much, but he's a nice bench receiver. Great bye week receiver.
Definitely helps out. If he's not suspended, it definitely helps out with the Devontae Parker questions.
Mm-hmm.
Shores up his wide receivers for
sure. 2 picks later, or 1 pick later, actually, because that was a keeper. He grabs New Orleans Saints rookie running back Boston Scott. I know you have an opinion on this one, Connor.
I don't love it. Not only will Mark Ingram be back after the 4, it's basically. I would assume he was thinking he's going to get somebody for 4 games.
And well, he could have that Ingram role next year. That could be what he's thinking.
The problem with Boston Scott is, I don't know if you've seen him. He has a very good low to the ground rushing style, but he is very, very small.
He's not the type of guy that's.
I really don't think he's going to be the guy to replace Ingram, and I don't even think he's going to be the guy to get those first 4 games as the.
I don't think it's going to be one guy, but that's a conversation for another time.
Yeah, but either way, it's going to be Kamara's backfield overall, either way, to me. So, I mean, it's a 13th round. Honestly, I think you could have gotten him in the 17th, 18th round, honestly. So, for that reason, I'm going to give it an F.
You're going to give it an F. I will give it a D because he is a talented player and does have a shot. But
I did love his college tape. I'm not going to lie.
Yeah, he's a good player, but I just. Yeah, maybe he ends up on a different team, and that could save him. He only made 1 other pick after that, and it was the last pick of the draft. He took a kicker, Jake Elliott. Do you have any analysis on Jake Elliott?
I don't like taking kickers. It's the last pick, though, so I get, if there's any pick I would let slide, it'd be the 18th. He is, one of the better kickers, but I just think you could have drafted. You could have, like I said, you could have drafted Boston Scott there.
Mm-hmm.
I don't love it. I'll give it like a C, I guess, but I just personally don't value any kicker in the draft.
I'm going to give this an F. I don't like.
Well, switch mine to D then. I was being nice.
I don't like taking a kicker, and I don't even think this was the right kicker to take. He plays in a cold weather environment. He kicks outside. It's not going to be. It's not. I mean, he's probably going to be a good fantasy kicker. That's not really the issue. But if you must take a kicker, there were better kickers out there. There was Greg Zerline, there was Steven Gostkowski. I don't like it at all. He could have snagged.
I actually remember shouting those names out.
Yeah,
you said Greg, and I said Gostkowski. So.
Yeah,
and he still didn't listen.
Not crazy, but anyway, if you wanted a kicker, he likes Jake Elliott. Whatever, he's a good kicker. Moving on to Nate Kane. Kind of lucked out with Cook falling into his lap with that first draft pick. Should he have considered anything else, or did he do the right thing by just booking it?
Oh, I think he did the right thing. That was a no-brainer. That was probably outside of AJ. This is the easiest pick to make so far. I think, just because the talent just goes off very quickly. I mean, Joe Mixon's a great player, but Dalvin Cook, Christian McCaffrey. We've already done our mocks a million times. It was obvious those are the 3 top players. A, easy.
Yeah, A for me as well. Not much to talk about. He did grab Nick Chubb at number 16 overall in the 2nd round. Doesn't look like he's going to be much of a factor in the early going this year. Was it still a good pick for a team that is openly rebuilding?
I think what you got to look at is he had the back end of the 2nd round, and all of the other top rookie names went off right in front of him. So, he could have risked taking a different player that would have been older, but guess what? Nick Chubb wouldn't have been there in the 4th round. He had Kirk Cousins for the next keeper. So I don't mind that he did this. I think it's too high, but for his situation, he had to do it if he wanted a rookie, and he wanted a top-end rookie, I guess, for what the draft status quo is, at least. So I think it was a solid pick. I'd give it a B, kind of out of just the way the draft went, not necessarily his value of it, but it's a B to me.
I think Nate made the pick he had to make.
Yeah.
So I have no problem with that personally. At the end of the 4th round, he grabs himself Sammy Watkins, who's in Kansas City now. With the way the draft ended up going, he probably would have been there a few rounds later. Obviously, he didn't know at the time, so we have to grade it on that. But is the value okay?
I would have preferred if he had taken a Demaryius Thomas there, or even taken it. It's going the other way.
Yeah.
Oops. See, I keep reading wrong.
Evens go to the left.
So then I would say it was pretty good. He could have maybe taken a shot at a rookie like Michael Gallup or Marquise Goodwin, but to me, I don't hate it. I really I think he is a bit injury prone as always, and in KC there is the risk with Hill there, but for a 4th round pick, I know he's already drafted him before, so maybe he saw something he liked out of him the last time he owned him.
He's a good player.
I'll give it a B. I'll give it a B.
I'll give it a C. Just to kind of level it out and kind of right in that kind of like C+ range as well for you.
Yeah.
But he's a fine player. He's a starting fantasy wide receiver. In the 5th round, he grabbed a popular rookie and Chicago Bears rookie receiver Anthony Miller. I thought it was a little high, but I didn't hate the value. What was your thought here?
It was a little high, but at the same time, those rookie wide receivers started going off the board quick.
Mm-hmm.
And he didn't have another pick for quite some time. I think if that's the guy he wanted, I'm happy with that. And he has gotten rave reviews in camp. So clearly, I think he could be maybe a great PPR guy. I'm going to give it a B.
A B there. I will give that one a B as well. I like the player. It's full retail price. I don't think everything he does as a rookie, he's paying for it. But if he becomes a good long-term keeper for him, I think he'll be very happy. His next pick was all the way down to round 8. He picked up Case Keenum to be a second starting quarterback. Do you have any problems with this, or was it fine?
I think it definitely shored things up. At this point, he had missed. Did he?
What?
He missed out on all the rookies at this point?
Yes.
So, yeah, I don't hate that at all at that point. I think out of what was available for quarterback, he probably took the guy. It definitely just shored things up. He could have maybe gone with some younger talent just to think of the future, but if he wants to kind of maintain some kind of status now, Case Keenum, probably the best quarterback to take at that point. I'll give it a C just because it's lackluster kind of pick, but it was good value.
You can't give Case Keenum anything higher than a C. I think, though, I like the decision better than the player. I got to get a quarterback because if he doesn't take one, he doesn't have another pick for 2 rounds. So if he doesn't take the quarterback, he risks not getting one. And that can't happen. He doesn't have the receiver depth to play receiver at flex. Case Keenum will be a good OP as long as he's on the field. 2 rounds later, in round 10, he grabbed his handcuff in Latavius Murray, who I think will have a little bit of standalone value, but wasn't too high.
This was a pick in the draft. I remember I loved it. With some of the remaining talent that was going off the board, I thought that was a perfect place to take him. As I think you've mentioned on the pod, or at least you talked to some people about, he's second in touchdowns within the last 3 years. I mean, that's an awesome stat. I think he's and especially when you already have Dalvin Cook, who did go down with injury in week 2. I think it was a fine pick. Yes, he's a handcuff, but I don't think that's the way you should have looked at him in this draft if you didn't own Dalvin Cook. I think he was a value still. He's had a great preseason. High, maybe, but I mean, with what was going to go off the board next, not really. I think it was a solid pick. I'm going to give that a B.
Yeah, just because he also has Dalvin Cook, I'm going to give it an A.
Okay.
I think that he's stone cold as an RB1, no matter basically what happens. I mean, if they both get hurt, but obviously, but I think he's stone cold, has an RB1, and he'll be able to use Murray on weeks that on bye weeks and stuff.
Yeah,
so
any bye that's not involved in Minnesota, he's gonna plug in.
yeah, I really like that. I like the value's not, like we said, isn't great, but I like the player. He left the draft a little early to go take care of his child, I guess. He grabbed himself.
Where's the dad punchers when you need them?
Yeah, seriously. Grabbed himself a Broncos rookie receiver, Deshaun Hamilton, kind of a future pick here.
Yeah, and I, honestly, when the name came off the board, I was like, oh yeah, Deshaun Hamilton. I forgot he existed.
I mean, he's cutting him for a kicker, obviously, but
but I mean, for future stake, I think it's a great pick. You could say it's high, but again, you got to take who you want. And I'm going to give it a B. I think it was another solid pick. He's already got a good grouping of wide receivers, and I think that just strengthens it for the future.
Yeah, I'll give it a B as well. The value is not crazy, but it lets him kind of improve this group going forward. In the 15th round, we had one of the most intriguing picks. Nate gave me a sheet with a few players highlighted. Hamilton was on it, and so was Jets backup quarterback Teddy Bridgewater. What did you think of this as a draft?
Another great future investment. Hell, if he had been around my late round draft picks, I may have taken him. So good on him to take him when he could. You could say maybe he could have gotten away with it in the 16th, 17th round, but I mean Kyle Lauletta, which also was his pick, went off in the 18th. So I mean that's a bunch of sneaky picks right there that could really work out. Yeah, I'm gonna give it a B.
Yeah, I gave it a B as well. If you're paying attention to your rebuilding team, this is what you do. Like it hurts to just throw draft capital that you're not going to be able to use this year.
This is where Darren Sproles as your 16th round pick is a mistake.
Yep, that's a perfectly perfect example though. Guys like Darren Sproles are not what you take. You take these guys. You're cutting them for a kicker anyway. Like pocket the keeper rights and move on. Good pick by there. It might not work out, but all you got into it is a 15th round pick. This is what the continuously competitive teams in this league do. So. In the 16th round, another guy on that highlighted list of players was Texans rookie receiver Kiki QT, which is a ridiculous name, by the way.
Sounds like the nickname for his child.
Seriously. He's more of a kind of a slot burner, kick returner type guy. Is there any fantasy utility this year, or is it all next year?
He reminds me a little bit of what Tyler Lockett was for me a couple of years ago. I hope he's healthier. Guys like that, you never know. Sometimes they could always be a kick returner. They could have short careers, or they could really break out in a season. And I think, again, what you're talking about, the strategy, taking guys like that late in drafts, you never know. It could work out. It could be a really great investment. So I'm going to give it a B as well. I think he's probably a guy that could have really slid. Maybe you could have taken him in the 18th. But honestly, looking at what Nate ends up doing with the 17th and 18th picks, I think it only got better from here. So I'm going to give it a B just because it got better.
Yeah. That one right there, I'll give a C. I'm not super sure that he'll he could become, Tyreek Hill, but I think it's probably a lot more likely that he becomes a Ryan Switzer, who apparently can't stick on a roster. So, but not a bad player. And he does have, speed to burn. So he could be something. 17th round pick, Rashard Matthews, an embarrassment of riches here in the 17th round, receiver for Tennessee. What were your thoughts on this pick?
I mean, it's like nobody did their homework. Rashard Matthews had signed a contract, I think, maybe a day before the draft.
Okay.
It should have been in the
news.
It was
a couple days, yeah.
Should have been in the news. Everybody should have known it. I mean, myself included. I probably could have taken him somewhere, but I think for 17th round, it could maybe one of the steals of the draft.
Yeah, no, I'm giving
A.
Yeah, I'm giving this a stone cold A. Like, this is going to be one of Nate's best receivers this year.
Yeah,
and it's the kind of pick that, like, when you take Deshaun Hamilton, like if you flip this and Deshaun Hamilton, like we weren't going to say Deshaun Hamilton was too early. I really think that Rashard Matthews is going to be one of the best picks. And I made this pick for Nate, but I was like, okay, well, he's still on the board. Let's just take him. Definitely a great addition to a team, and then he can just kind of book this for probably the next 2 or 3 years and just have a wide receiver 3-4 area player. It's great Great player. I want you to take us through his last round pick, Kyle Lauletta, which I picked for him because he's a Giants fan.
I honestly don't think he's going to be the future. That being said, an 18th round pick and a quarterback. Honestly, for my last pick, I kind of had my hopes on another pick we'll talk about later, Mason Rudolph. That's a similar kind of situation. So to be in that mind frame and to want to take a quarterback out of the backup quarterbacks that were rookies this season that weren't high picks, Mason Rudolph and Kyle Lauletta are probably the two names. So yeah, take a stab at him at 18. I'm going to give that a B. I don't think it's going to work out. I personally think he's not the right guy, but hell, 18th round, give it a shot.
Yeah, he's college shape is good. We played at a small school. Kyle Lauletta, if he becomes the guy, could be good because that Giants offense is loaded for bear. But basically, like I said, I drafted him for him because he's a Giants fan. I'll give it a C just because we also did the same thing with Teddy Bridgewater. So I mean, if he hits on both of these guys, that'd be great. And then he's got Cousins, Bridgewater, and Lauletta, and let's fly. So looks like Nate's draft is a lot of B's. So I'm just gonna say it was a B draft.
Oh, we forgot Steve.
Oh yeah, Steve's is also a B draft.
We got a lot of B. You guys were all doing better than advertised, but don't get crazy.
Alex was not at the draft. He was out playing real football. So with his fourth pick of the draft, he instructed me to draft New England Patriots Hall of Fame quarterback Tom Brady. I know you were very critical of this off the air. What were your thoughts on this, Connor?
Oh, I mean, I was jumping for joy off the air that you would make that kind of decision because all I thought in my heart was that mean AJ Green's going to fall to me after all, and he did. I'm going to give this an F right away. Terrible decision. Absolutely terrible. Not only is Tom Brady, well, probably for the benefit, Tom Brady is going to retire soon, so he's going to free up his first-round pick. But, I mean, there are guys like Alex Collins, even Joe Mixon. They're not exactly young chickens anymore. I don't know if Joe Mixon kind of is, but I mean, these guys you could have taken and thrown back and not felt horrible about. I think they probably could have top end seasons, but to take Tom Brady, first of all, it's a quarterback. The value for quarterback is so low in this league. You could draft a quarterback like I did in the 8th round, and the difference isn't going to be that substantial. It's going to be something, but it's just not worth wasting the 4th overall pick. You need a running back, especially with the team and the running backs they had. I'm a little salty about this, Doug. But I just think that was an F, absolutely.
I will give this a C for the simple reason that it is one of the better players in the league, and it does give him unquestionably the best by far quarterback group in the league, right? And that includes Adams, right? So he'll win games on the strength of that alone. This is one of those teams that because if both those guys are healthy, if he gets into the first choice tournament, he could very easily win it. And if he does that, you're gonna have to have a nice big help and a crow with a side of foot and mouth.
If there's one thing I could add in about my harsh F, it's that Tom Brady and Aaron Rodgers sounds a lot to me like what Drew Brees and Peyton Manning were to me quite a few years ago.
Were they in those same rounds?
I had them in the same rounds. And guess how many titles I won? 0.
Yeah,
Just remember that, Alex.
You got to win. Well, I don't know why Alex is going to take advice from you. He's got 2 titles.
Well, he does, yeah.
That's true. But
early on. It was a different time.
But no, I think it'll probably I mean, there was something to be said for taking the sure thing. I give it a C. I would have taken the running back. I told him he should have taken a running back, but, his team, his choice, I suppose. Follows that up, late 4th round pick, C.J. Anderson is one of the last few usable running backs that were available. What do you think of that pick?
I mean, it's kind of a bizarre way to rank it, but I mean, if you look at what's available, maybe Giovanni Bernard, but outside of that, honestly, it's an A just by the fact that it's the best thing he could have taken. So I'm giving it. I mean, I don't exactly love C.J. Anderson enough that he's a 4th round pick, but for what's left on the board, maybe he would have went with something slightly younger by taking Corey Clement. But outside of that, I don't see anything that would have been better. So I got to give an A just because it was the best logical choice. Yeah,
I'll give it an A as well. Just it wasn't a great, exciting pick, but it's something he desperately needed on this team. Followed up a few picks later with tight end George Kittle. Had no tight ends going into the draft. George Kittle was one of the better ones. What did you think about this pick?
He is one of the better ones, but the fifth round just bothers me. I think he's definitely going to be a good tight end this season. I don't think the injury and all those concerns are going to matter too much.
Well, minor injury.
But people are playing it quite a bit. I think he's going to be a really fine tight end. I'm going to give it a C, though. I just think the fifth round like that is just too high. There's better rookies to have taken. Not bad, though. It's not bad.
Yeah, I'll give it a B just because he is arguably the best tight end available in the draft. But he also, he is hurt. The value is not great. Falls up in the 6th round with Giovanni Bernard. Now you're saying maybe he could have grabbed him in the 4th, getting him in the 6th.
It's another A to me. I think he grabbed some of the best available running backs in these couple of picks. He could have taken it in the 5th round. He could have taken Corey Clement and Bernard. He could have had 3 awesome rookie running backs potentially. There's tons of stuff that he could have had happen. But I think it's an easy A. Again, just the best available talent at running back. Sometimes that's what wins you leagues, though.
Yeah, sometimes. Giovanni Bernard, I'll give that an A too. Great pick by the guy that was picking for him. But it's not exciting. It's not a foundational pick though. He's gonna be making a 6th round pick next year.
Yeah, that's probably the biggest take. I think he's gonna have a good overall cumulative draft grade, but his draft grade should probably be lower from what it's gonna be, just because yes, he took the best available player, but there's nothing going into next year at the same time. Which is maybe why. I get he had a prior obligation, but being at the draft matters.
It really does, guys. Very next pick of the draft, with all those keepers in between, was Redskins running back Rob Kelly. Talk us about fit Rob Kelly.
I think with Peterson there and Samaje Perine, it's going to be rough going. I think for the 7th round, for what was still available, it's not horrendous or by any means. Again, it's probably one of those top off the board picks. I think I'd give you an A for your drafting for him. But in terms of what he needs, it's just not good enough. I'm going to give him a C.
I gave him a C as well. It's kind of a murky backfield situation. I made the pick for him because he needed another running back, and that was, in my opinion, the best one available. But I'm not crazy about the situation. But he'll be able to use him. That's a usable fantasy asset for sure. Next pick was in the 8th round. He grabbed Arizona tight end Ricky Seals-Jones. Your thoughts on Ricky Seals-Jones, former wide receiver?
Now this, for the round it was taken, and the tight end, I can get behind a bit more. I think it was a better lower pick. The fact that he already took Kittle does affect it, but he didn't have a tight end before this, did he?
No, these are his 2 tight ends.
So these are his 2 tight ends. So I think I'm going to give him a solid B on this one. I think Ricky Seals-Jones has a lot of upside. He could be a waste of time, but hey, this is the kind of picks he needs to be making. Younger players, later rounds, guys that you can keep. I think one of Alex's problems is he keeps throwing back these aged players.
Well, he's right to throw them back. He
does that right.
Yeah,
yes, he just keeps drafting them.
So yeah, I'll give this a B as well. But I think you said it devalues a little bit because he took Kittle. I think I like it because now he's both guys. This is probably this is the top half of the league tight end group most likely, and guys are getting a little bit more hip that you need tight ends to win. But Ricky Seals-Jones has a really wide range of outcomes. We talked about it earlier with Josh Allen. He could be, just another tight end 2, like most of the guys, or he could be, he could be a tight end 1. So one of those. Now I know you were critical of this on draft day. 9th round pick Deontay Foreman, which is exactly where he was drafted last year by Alex and then thrown back. What are your thoughts on this? Is the injury too serious to take him here?
I think he was a great value later. But that being said, running backs aren't plentiful. I think if you were going to stay old, you could have drafted a guy like Frank Gore. But, throw a stab at a rookie. The problem is, once again, he wasn't there for the draft. He didn't leave anything. So when you're looking at best available, Deontay Foreman is going to rise a little bit because some of the rookies have a higher risk to them. So I'm not crazy about it. I think he should have gone later to have that real, that was a good value. So I'm going to give it a C again. I think if he's back from his injury and he's healthy, it could be a really solid pick. Again, at the same time, though, he is one of the younger players Alex has on his roster, so it isn't all for nothing. I think if he can prove himself, that could be a keeper next year that really stands out.
Yeah, I'll give it a C as well. It's a lot has to go right for him to be a usable fantasy asset, and we're just not sure if it's going to happen. In the 12th round, wide receiver Danny Amendola, now with the Dolphins, goes, this is one of those, there were a lot of veteran receivers that were really good value in the later rounds of this draft. This is another one. What are your thoughts on Danny Amendola?
I think it's a solid pick. Good PPR value. I think if it wasn't a PPR league, wouldn't be that great. But obviously, we're in a PPR league, so he's been getting rave reviews at camp.
Healthy.
He's hopefully going to be healthy the whole season. We'll see. But yeah, I think it's a very solid pick. I'll give it a B, and yeah, just call it a day. It's one of those picks you just pick, and you're like, all right, that works for me.
Now we have a starting receiver, at least until Julian Edelman gets back.
I'm gonna have Kevin Hemian guest spot me for a moment as we talk about Dez Bryant.
Good.
Dez Bryant, Kev Dog. Yeah, Dez Bryant, still without a team, says he might wait until into the season. What did you think of the draft value for Dez Bryant in the 16th round, later stages of the draft?
Well, I'd say for later in the rounds, yeah, he's going to end up somewhere. The problem is, I think it'd be the funniest thing if he had to crawl back to the Dallas Cowboys and takes half the salary that he had before.
Which is all they wanted him to do, by the way.
Yeah, but I mean, he's got talent. In a way, I was sort of relieved that the Cowboys let him go, because I saw too many times last year where Prescott tried to force passes to him because he was having his hissy fits on the sideline that he wasn't getting paid attention to. So I think he's going to have more trouble than he thinks, because he's got that reputation to get signed up for probably the money he wants. So I don't think that Alex is going to get to use him for quite a while. He will get to use him towards the end. Maybe he'll be able to put him in, and it will save his butt in a few of the later round games. But he isn't going to use him for quite a while, I don't think.
Yeah. You want to put a letter grade on it?
I'd say a C.
A C, yeah. I mean, it's one of those things. I'm going to actually give it a question mark, because we don't know. We don't know if he's going to end up anywhere. Like, it's a very, very murky, weird situation with him. Not sure. Last two picks were a kicker and a defense. You want to give us your extreme analysis on Mason Crosby and
I don't know.
Eagles defense?
Well, I mean, the Eagles defense is supposed to be pretty highly rated this year. But why do you waste your picks on a kicker and he wasn't there, so I mean, did he have input into this, or
just on the first pick?
Okay, so yeah, I mean, they're sort of useless picks.
Yeah,
they're not even worth a grade, because you don't have anything where you have the chance. So,
well, I mean, nobody deserves a kicker more than Alex. Let's be real.
Well, that's true.
I mean,
he could have made the end of the draft and gotten there.
He said he didn't get back to Banks until 9:15. The draft ended at 9:30.
Well,
so
I guess not. Oh well.
Overall, the draft grade for Alex is an F, because he didn't show up to the draft.
Yeah.
Show up to the draft, you won't get an F.
Yeah,
I'd agree with that.
But like a C for the actual picks. Adam was at the draft, made a few picks. His first pick was in the 3rd round, and he grabbed Hall of Famer Adrian Peterson. Connor, the floor is yours.
It's an F, Doug. It's an F. Too high. Could have gotten this guy. The next pick, he lucked out by having Rex Burkhead fall the way he did. If you had flopped that, it would have been better. If you had flopped that with Courtland Sutton, it would have been better. If you swapped that with Robert Woods, it would have been better. Maybe not that far, but in the 3rd round, there was way better opportunity, way better picks. We don't even know at this point. We don't even know that Adrian Peterson's going to be the lead back. There's 2 other guys. Yeah, he could still get cut. F.
I gotta agree. It was too high, too old, and too crowded of a backfield. I don't know how much, if any, preparation Adam did before the draft, but this kind of looks like one of those picks where you hear his name in the news and you throw the dart. Anyway, he he could have some fantasy utility to the point where he's an RB3 in our format, I guess. But he doesn't play on passing downs because he can't catch the ball. He can't block. He's a first and second down running back. And I thought it was kind of weird because they have a bunch of those guys on their team. So Adrian Peterson, that's an F for me as well. However, Rex Burkhead is an A for me, particularly after the just because of the value. Really, he was I think the line between Rex Burkhead and C.J. Anderson is kind of like that line of good running backs and okay running backs. What are your thoughts on this?
It just fell into his lap. I've got to give it an A as well. Injury prone, not always the best thing.
Another crowded backfield.
But I mean, the value there makes sense. I have a question for you, Doug.
Sure.
Should I have taken Rex Burkhead instead of Isaiah Crowell?
Yeah, I think so.
You're wrong.
I just think Rex Burkhead offers more pass catching upside, but we're not talking about you. We're talking about Adam. I think Rex Burkhead was a great pick for him. 2 rounds later, he grabbed himself Cortland Sutton, rookie receiver for the Denver Broncos. Great talent. I saw him make a really nice catch in the preseason game the other day, working against Josh Norman, which was impressive. What are your thoughts about him this season and then going forward?
I thought maybe he was going to be a later next year kind of guy, but he's put up some good preseason games. I think for the round that he got him after, Christian Kirk, Anthony Miller, these were names being spewed about. I think Cortland Sutton was a great grab. If that's the guy you wanted, I feel like a lot of these rookie wide receivers this season, it's kind of what style player do you like the most? And if that's the style player he was looking for, I think he did it. I'd give that an A.
You give it an A? I'll give it a B. But I think that's where you needed to take these rookie receivers. I guess that's where they were going. But I thought they were all too high. So I think Cortland Sutton gets a B. I think he will be a good player. I think he will work out for Adam, though. Follows that pickup just a few picks later with Titans rookie receiver Taywan Taylor, who is fast. He's fast. What's your analysis of Taywan Taylor?
Yeah, he's fast, but if he was so on the news with Adrian Peterson, he should have also been on the news with the fact that Rashad Matthews is back. They already have Corey Davis. Yes, he's a good talent, but to take him in the 7th round when the hype is kind of killed. Again, I'm looking at it. Robert Woods, the next pick he takes. I would have rather had Robert Woods there. I'm going to give this a C. I think it was bad timing. I think we saw enough to know that he's not going to be the guy this year. And when he already took that kind of chance with Cortland Sutton to back it up with another unproven wide receiver who is not going to be even the top 2, you gotta Joe. You've got to go lower with that pick. So it's bad to me.
Yeah, I'm actually going to give this a D. Way too soon, in my opinion. He was definitely a double-digit round guy for me, but that highlight was very impressive.
There was a moment where he looked like if Matthews didn't sign, he was going to be a steal.
Yeah,
but he's a
talent, and it could happen. I just think it's too soon. Next pick, though, Robert Woods kept falling and finally went in the 8th round. I'm going to give this one an A. What's your thoughts on this one?
Oh, I wanted him to fall to me, my next pick, but that wasn't in the cards. He got him super late. I think this guy could have been a guy you could have taken in the 4th round. I really do. I think he's the guy in LA for the Rams. I mean, there's more than one LA now, but
no, for both teams.
I think it was a total steal. Maybe the steal of the draft, unfortunately.
Yeah, well, unfortunately. Great pick by Adam there.
Well, he didn't take that one, did he? Or did he
no, that was the last pick he made.
Oh, well, then good on you, Adam.
Adam then left the draft, and we threw a bunch of junk at him, which we won't spend time on the podcast for. Adam gets a D for leaving the draft early. Now, moving on, what do we got here? Adam. Joe's team, and no, Tim, we are not going to skip Joe's team. Joe's first pick was right there at number 13, Tariq Cohen. I know you were very critical of this off the air. What do you want to
Joe,
let off your chest?
Joey. You could have had a rookie here, man.
You could have had a rookie.
What were you thinking? I've already talked to him off air about this myself. I mean, Kerryon Johnson was there. even Rashad Penny, even if he thought it was a negative hype, Nick Chubb even.
Chicken up.
I would have taken all of those guys ahead of Cohen. I think Cohen's kind of a smokescreen on what's actually going to be going on for the Chicago Bears. I think it's going to be a whole lot of Jordan Howard. And I think Tariq Cohen's what they go to when they're in trouble and they don't know what they're doing anymore. And I'm hoping for the sake of the Bears and for Steve's well-being that they actually have things put together more and they won't need to do these dumb trick plays to Tariq Cohen. That being said, he is maybe a really good value for PPR if they do use him enough. The problem is there are other guys to have taken, so I'm going to give it a D.
Yeah, I gave it a C because I think he will be a usable running back, but I don't like the value. He follows that up in the third round with Titan second-year receiver Corey Davis. What were your thoughts on Corey Davis?
Now, this pick I loved. This is where, well, actually, I loved it because I was going to do it if he didn't. So, so obviously, I love it. Great value in the third round. If this guy's going to be a stud, like everyone's saying, if he's a wide receiver one, that's a guy just like Carlo banked off of Julio Jones for years and years now. That could be a guy in the third round you're going to keep for a long time. I love that pick. I'm going to give it an A.
An A. I will give it a B just because I don't like having receivers that high. Like I don't even like having Tyreek Hill that high. He's a good player. But yeah, Corey Davis, I mean, was one of the better receivers, probably the best receiver left on the board at that point. So I don't hate it. I mean, I think that's probably retail price, so I'm not going to give it an A. Followed that up with one of Joe's only shockers of the draft was Cleveland Browns first overall pick, rookie quarterback Baker Mayfield. Dig into this one for us, Kyle.
This one may coincide with Joe's question that was just asked. Did I draft too much young talent? Should I have grabbed some players that were better at the current spot instead? No, Joe.
Yeah.
I think when you succeeded because you took young guys like Corey Davis, like maybe some picks we're going to talk about immediately after, like Gallup, maybe even Goddard. Those are some guys that you took that are younger. The guy that's younger, that's my problem right now, is Baker Mayfield. But even though I thought you took it too high, you broke the rookie quarterback cherry here. It looks like your brother was ready to take one too. If you like Baker Mayfield the most, good on you. I think there was better value at my own personal ranking. I'm going to give it – I was going to go ahead and give it a C, but I'm going to give it – I'm still going to give it a C. I'm giving it a C. If it's the guy you wanted, congratulations. But I just don't see it myself. I think he's going to be sitting the bench longer than any of the other – well, besides Lamar Jackson, any of the other top rookie quarterbacks. And he does have a lot of bad values to him. He's a very short quarterback. He is playing for the Browns, who have screwed up quarterback for years and years and years. Do I think it could change? Of course it can. And do I think he's talented? Yes, I do. But he has a lot of that talent that's very college-related, and he's not my favorite quarterback. And I think to take him in the fourth round is a bad taste in my mouth.
Yeah, Joe says, I like Sam Darnold more, but I thought it was too high to draft him. I mean, a lot of people thought that it was too high to take Mayfield over Darnold in the actual NFL draft because
I could be wrong again. It could be wrong twice, Joe.
I mean, Baker Mayfield's made a living off proving people wrong. He was too small coming out of high school, walked on at Oklahoma. He was too small to lead the Oklahoma offense in the Big Ten. He was too small to win the Heisman Trophy.
It reminds, in a way, it could remind you of Drew Brees a little bit.
Drew Brees, Russell Wilson. And for the record, I do think he's close. I do think he's probably closer to like a Drew Brees than he is to Johnny Manziel. There was a lot of there was a lot of Johnny Manziel.
He's not Johnny Manziel.
Yeah, no, he's good, but I'll give it a C as well, just because I thought it was too high.
But no, Joe, you didn't draft too much talent. You need to draft as much young talent as you can if you're rebuilding, which is why you should have taken a rookie in the second round instead of Cohen.
Cohen is a second-year player for whatever that's worth. Yeah. Michael Gallup in the fifth round. It's a good thing Joe wasn't at the draft because Tim might have strangled him to death for this one here. What do you think about the Michael Gallup pick? This was kind of right in that run of rookie receivers that we talked about earlier. Was the value okay? Did Joe reach or what? Keep in mind, Joe did have keepers in the next two rounds.
Well, you got to remember here, off the board already were Calvin Ridley and Moore. And I think those are the two, outside of Gallup, the two most ready wide receivers and the highest talent wide receivers that went in the draft. So I think that was a totally great pick. I don't know whose tablet that was, but that was at serious risk of being smashed, I think, because yeah, Michael Gallup was definitely, especially because your brother picked right after him, did you not? So yeah, that was rough going, but I think it's a very good pick. I'm not sure that Michael Gallup's going to be the answer for a substantial amount of time, but I think for the season he's going to have a really great value. I'm going to give him a B.
Yeah, I think this is like the easiest B we've given out. Let's
Joe, giddy up. Am I right?
Right.
Boys at work.
Boys at work. Let's hold our collective horses on Michael Gallup, though. Thank you. I mean, guys, a third round rookie. There are other players on the team. I think there's like way too much hype for Michael Gallup and not enough for Allen Hurns. I think Allen Hurns is a receiver that we've seen do things in the NFL. But with all these, Anthony Miller goes, it's time to take Michael Gallup. And it would have been vice versa if it had gone the other way. So I don't mind the pick. That's a B. A few rounds later, Joe made another shocking pick in grabbing Eagles rookie tight end Dallas Goedert, who makes made some great catches in college. Was it South Dakota State or whatever it was? Very talented guy, second round pick for the Eagles. I thought this was too high for him, just because he's not the starting tight end on his own NFL team, and he's a very talented guy. It's just there's not a lot of upside in the immediate future.
Yeah, I think the biggest thing for me is seeing Mike Gesicki go like after this. I think if he was going to take that guy, it should have been Gesicki, in my opinion. Maybe he should have gone with one of the Baltimore guys. I think he's a great late value. And I think he will be probably one of the better tight ends that came out of this draft. And when we talk about this in 10 years, he's probably going to be the tight end out of that group, possibly. But he's going to be what Trey Burton has had to have been, and he's only just now getting his shot. I mean, yes, he's going to get maybe 4 or 5 touchdowns this season. I could see that, maybe even higher. You never know, depending on Ertz' health. But with the other guys that were there, if you were going to take a guy that early, you should have taken a different one, in my opinion.
Yeah, for what it's worth, Joe did not have another pick until the 14th round.
Joe, I was going to wait until the end. Thank you. It's your evaluation at the end, and then I'll do your question.
But yeah, overall, I wasn't crazy about the pick. I'm going to give it a D. Just I thought it was way too early.
I'm going to give it a C, just because I think it's going to be.
You believe in the talent?
It's going to be a really great talent.
Okay. His next pick was down in the 14th round. Sam Bradford. I kind of liked the idea of taking Sam Bradford because he can kind of kick the can down the road on Baker Mayfield a little bit here. Mm-hmm. Not crazy about the player so much, but I will give this a kind of a sneaky A because it's the type of player that Joe needed to draft. And who knows how healthy he'll be. If he plays 6 weeks, we're seeing Baker Mayfield by then. And at that point, that he achieved exactly what he needed to achieve. So I think it was a sneaky A just because of the intentionality and the strategy in the pick.
I'll give it a sneaky A for the fact that if it keeps Josh Rosen off the field, that means Doug suffers. But no,
Jeez.
I think he's an Oklahoma alum. I love Oklahoma. Great quarterbacks come from there.
Like Baker Mayfield, for instance?
So you got all those Oklahoma guys. I can't hate you too much, Joe. I think it was a good pick. I'm going to give it an A as well.
2 rounds later, he grabbed John Kelly. Can I give an A+?
Yeah, I was going to exactly. Same
great
thought.
talent, his own handcuff. Like I said, intentionality. Joe clearly had a plan for this draft. That's an A all day long.
A all day long. He's either going to have the perfect backup for if he has that traumatic event like I had last season, and my top guy goes down and one gets suspended. He's got a guy who's I think he could step in. He won't be as good, but he will be very, very good. And he's got future potential as well. He's got him in the 16th round. He can keep keeping him. And if he signs on with another team eventually, or vice versa, Todd Gurley goes somewhere else, boom.
Kind of a Tevin Coleman kind of situation.
He could be a big time player.
Yeah.
I think he's got a lot of talent. He got drafted in the wrong location in terms of him having
for his career, yeah.
But yeah, that's going to be a great player.
He finished up his draft with Geronimo Allison. This is a dart, right?
It's a dart, but it's a good dart. I think Geronimo Allison, with what I've heard and what the situation seems to be, a lot of those rookies have had their off and ons. I know at one point I was low on Geronimo Allison when we were doing one of the mocks, but I think for an 18th round value, he could be the wide receiver 3 in Green Bay. And we've seen time after time again that the third wide receiver in Green Bay has a lot of value. There's also reports that Cobb might get cut. I think it would have happened maybe by now, but it could still happen. And if that happens, definitely Geronimo Allison's value goes way up.
Yeah, because there were reports that they were trying to trade him, and then they said they weren't. And now there's reports that they might cut him. So if they cut him, come on over to Dallas. We'd love to have you, Randall.
All right, Joe. So we've got quite a few questions here. I'm going to answer this last one you just did. Was it foolish to trade Doug 2 picks to advance 2 spots?
Yes.
It was, especially when he drafted Cohen. I know I keep bragging on you for this, but if you had taken Kerryon Johnson here, I would have said, you know what? Hey,
go get the guy
you would have gotten the value of somebody. Maybe it would have happened. But
and
the
Joe,
fact of the matter is,
you
not
only traded me
you,
1 pick, by the way.
Not only did you whiff, but yeah, don't give up a ton of picks to move up. I mean, you did give late picks, so it's not. It wasn't
a pick. It was 12th.
It wasn't horrendous, but I don't ever like dealing away a bunch of picks for 1 pick. I'd rather take the value of multiple players over one particular player, even if it's in the second round.
Yeah, the exception to that would be in the first round. If you're going to move up to like the first pick to get somebody, go ahead. And Joe, to kind of compound on that, I would say you were slaying it in the late rounds of this draft.
You're gonna have some keepers next year.
You were gonna have some keepers next year, but that kind of like doubles up on the Cohen thing. Like if you hadn't done that, that's 1 more pick that you apparently would have nailed. So, yeah, I think the question was which players is he going to keep?
Yeah.
I would say, I mean, you're keeping Gurley. You're probably not keeping Cohen. You're keeping Davis. You're keeping Mayfield. You're keeping Gallup. You're keeping Goddard. You're let me make sure I get all these. You're not keeping Ebron most likely. You're keeping Watson. Probably Fuller. Probably not Snead. Probably McKinnon. Probably not Bryant. Not Bradford. Not Ware. Yes, Kelly. Rudolph if he doesn't retire, and then maybe on Allison, I would say.
I'd say I'm pretty much. I'd say I'm on board with you.
I mean that's it's on August 28th. That's my my analysis.
So if it's wrong, you can blame Doug, not me.
You said I would keep it. I should be first. Doug Senior was kind of went away from some of the stuff he's been doing in previous drafts. Took that number 5 pick, grabbed Joe Mixon, even though he had a hard time with him last year. I'm going to give that pick an A personally. He was the best player on the board.
Yeah, I'm going to give it away a little bit here. I think his first 4 picks here, I think he nailed this draft. But I'm going to give an A to Joe Mixon. With Tom Brady going 4th, he got the best available running back.
Joe, your overall draft grade was like a B, just like everybody else. But yeah, go on up with that.
But yeah, I think Joe Mixon was the obvious choice there. I mean, he's already owned him, but I think hopefully Cincinnati's woes will be cleaned up a bit this season. Even if it's not, I saw some preseason highlights of his that look real nice. I think he's going to be a great, outstanding player. He doesn't have to worry about Jeremy Hill being obnoxious in the backfield anymore. Definitely an A. Great choice.
Yeah, definitely. Kerryon Johnson, he grabbed in the second round. This was great value.
Yeah, this is one of my, I know a lot of people value my thoughts on running backs in this league because, I don't see great ones.
Yeah.
Kerryon Johnson was one I was really looking at. If A.J. Green had gone, he was probably going to be my second round pick, and I don't necessarily need a running back, but I would have passed that up. So for him to get him as late as he did after he's already taken Joe Mixon, that's another A+ for me, honestly. But yeah, obviously it's not an A. But yeah, A.
Yeah.
Simple.
Yeah, I'll give that an A. Both those 2 guys were the guys that, like, during the draft, I wanted Mixon to start, and then as the draft kind of developed, I wanted Johnson with that second pick, and then he sniped both of those players so for 1 pick ahead. So great start to the draft by the old.
That's why you're the real MVP, Doug Senior. You're stopping Doug from being a little.
Like I'm the evil empire. I didn't make the playoffs last year. In round 3, Calvin Ridley. There was a little bit of a surprise just because it was high, a little high here, but it kind of is the type of player that a team like this can afford to pick that high. What were your thoughts here?
Once again, if Larry Fitzgerald wasn't where he was, I wanted Ridley. So I also wanted Corey Davis too. But yeah, I think it might have been a slightly high, just because with the crowdedness of the wide receivers there for this season, maybe Moore could have been a better value for this year. But I think Calvin Ridley is probably going to be the best wide receiver of that class in the long run. So I'm going to give it a B. It was too high, but it was great all the same, I think.
Yeah, he'll be. I think he'll have a. I think he could be one of those guys that has a really good playoff run. Kind of comes out of the scene later in the season.
And I mean, if Julio Jones, what's his contract situation? Is he done? How many more years?
I think he's got 2 more years left, but he's like all. Upset.
Yeah, if he ends up going,
they did just give him a little bit of a raise. So.
Yeah.
Trey Burton was the pick in round 4, the first tight end off the board, and the highest drafted or kept tight end. So obviously it's high because it's the most expensive tight end in the league. Is the talent good enough to justify the draft position?
Part of it is also the fact that his next 3 slots were all keepers. So if you wanted Trey Burton, it had to be now. I mean, look at George Kittle went immediately after, and then you even had Seals Jones go a bit higher than usual. Dallas Goedert went pretty high. It was a high year for tight ends, I think. I really don't hate it. Like I said, I think his first 4 picks for what his team necessities were and what he needed to make a serious run this season, I think not only did he add youth, but he added the right kind of pieces, and I think Trey Burton's a B for me.
Yeah, I'll give it a C just because I don't like the value. Like I said, he had to get him there, and we don't know what Trey Burton does with a full workload. We've seen him when Ertz has been hurt, play well, but we just don't know. We don't know what his role is going to be in that Chicago offense. Shaheen is there; they seem to not using him, so there's a lot that needs to go right for him to be an elite tight end. His next pick after that was Detroit Lions running back LeGarrette Blount. This is an A for me because he also has Kerryon Johnson. So the chance that Kerryon Johnson's not good or not good right away, like that doesn't matter now because he has Blount, right? So what are your thoughts on this?
I think it was an easy A, just kind of like with the C.J. Anderson and Giovanni Bernard pick for Alex that we talked about. He by far was the best available running back. I think he's going to be a touchdown monster. And like I said, I'm telling you, Detroit Lions, Super Bowl, baby. LeGarrette Blount, he makes it happen. So we'll see.
LeGarrette Blount, Kenny Galladay, watch out. But LeGarrette Blount, not a very exciting pick, but a good one. 2 rounds later, though, was one of the picks that got the draft buzzing probably more than any other pick in the draft.
Certainly pissed me off.
The Washington Redskins injured rookie running back Darius Geis. What were your thoughts on this pick?
I think it was too high this year, but next year I'll be like that lucky bastard. So I got to give it a B still. I would give it an A if it were a couple rounds later, but then I'd be giving the A to myself most likely. So I guess he had to do it.
Giving the A to himself, making wood happen. Darius Geis, yeah, I'll give it a B too. He had to take him there because he had keepers next year. I was probably we heard Steve say he was fixing to take him, so he took him where he needed to take him. 3 rounds later, Dolphins starting quarterback Ryan Tannehill needed a quarterback for insurance for Tyrod Taylor, who is going to lose his job at some point. It's just a matter of when, not if. What were your thoughts on Ryan Tannehill?
See, I think this might be one that we're really going to disagree on, Doug, because I remember your attitude after he did that to mine. I'm giving this an A.
An A.
I think this Ryan Tannehill is a primo fantasy quarterback. Your dad knows how to take those guys that aren't the flashiest, or they are the flashiest on the field, and they're not, even Cam Newton, you have his struggles with his accuracy. I mean, Tyrod or Tyrod, however you like to say it.
His mom says Ty, so.
He's not the most notable quarterback for his accuracy either. But I mean, well, actually, that's not totally true. But he likes guys that run. He likes guys that make fantasy points happen. And Ryan Tannehill is one of those guys. As long as he doesn't go down, I think we forget. He makes some big time fantasy plays, and I love that pick. I think for what was left for quarterback, he either had to go super future with a Mason Rudolph, Teddy Bridgewater, or Kyle Valletta kind of pick, or he could have taken a guy that's going to have an impact right now. And I think for what he drafted earlier, that's what he's trying to do. And Tannehill works.
Yeah, I know about an A. Ryan Tannehill, I think he probably could have gone earlier than this. Guys were looking for starting quarterbacks, and he was the last one, right? I mean, there was nothing else to take. I'm going to give this one a B. I think my initial reaction was, Ryan Tannehill sucks. It's been a long time since we've seen him play and play well. He is coming off the injury, so how much of that mobility is left? He is 30 years old this season. Not exactly sold on Ryan Tannehill, but he should be valuable in the short term, at the very least, and let the old man go and grab himself a rookie next year. So his next pick was down here, round 17, grabbed himself Cowboys backup running back Rod Smith. What were your thoughts on this one?
It's fine. I mean, I guess you could say Ezekiel Elliott isn't always the most sure thing in terms of how he acts off the field. I think he was a little unjust the last season, but he definitely doesn't help himself. Rod Smith, we've seen him in preseason. We've seen him in actual games last season. He's got talent. Do I think it's a great pick? I think it's a handcuff, and I didn't take it, so I'm giving it a C.
Yeah, I'll give it a C too. I think he's a decent player, not a great, not a lot of upside, I would say.
Yeah.
Last pick, Virgil Green, tight end for the Chargers. Looks like he's on track to be probably the tight end one for the Chargers. What are your thoughts on Virgil Green?
I know you hate this pick, Doug. He told your dad repeatedly, but I think it's okay if nobody else signs with that team. And if that's the case, he took an 18th round pick on it. So I'm going to give it a B. I'm going to stick up for the old man.
A B?
I'm going to give it a B because you know what? It's an 18th round pick. He's taking a shot in the dark. And guess what? That could be a tight end. That's a starting tight end and could be getting you serious fantasy points in the red zone.
Got 71 catches
the only one.
in 6 years.
Yeah, well, this is the first time he's ever been a starter.
That's not true. He was a starter for the Broncos.
Well, that's the Broncos.
Well, whatever. I'm going to give it an F. Mike Williams is catching all those balls. Virgil Green will be cut by week 1 by the old man. Ryan Griffin, starting tight end for the Texans, I think would have been a better pick. Much younger player.
I could agree with that.
And was on the board. Also, I mean, like you said,
Atkins is coming.
But it is an 18th round pick, so I don't think it's gonna. I don't think this is gonna be the one in 69. When it happens, that's the worst pick of the draft.
Yeah.
That was a little much.
I mean, I probably would have given it a C in all honesty, but I just really wanted to annoy you.
All right, Connor, I will leave you the floor to discuss the Murder Muppets.
Capital F. Oh boy, watch out, garbage. Now
you're so mean. Also, the old man, I think had one of the better drafts. I'm actually gonna give that one an A.
Oh, finally getting out the B.
Well, no, there's a lot of A's.
Like I said, the first 4 rounds is probably the best of the draft. Well, besides myself. You'll diagnose that one, Dougie. For you though, we got Alex Collins here. I'm gonna give that an A. It was a good pick.
Man, I must have really screwed up that in 8th grade.
Very sneaky of you to bring up how all this Alex Collins hype would be great for Pat or Carlo, and then just take it away from them and laugh in their face, I assume. But good on you, I guess. The next pick, you took Rashad Penny. I will say, Doug, you had to do what you had to do here, but I'm not crazy about Rashad Penny. I think the negative news is something to note. He did gain 10 pounds within 2 weeks. I mean, Eddie Lacy alert. Watch out. But no, I think that he is going to be the centerpiece of their offense. They drafted him that way. They drafted him way too early. They can't not afford to throw him out there as much as possible, or else they're going to look even dumber than they already were. So he's going to be getting really big quality carries. So I'd say I would give that an A as well, mainly because Joe's a fool. Took Tariq Cohen for the 8th time that I've mentioned this. With your next pick following that up, it would have been Josh Rosen. I'm a fan of Josh Rosen. That said, Sam Darnold, I think, was a better value to me. I think you took him in the 6th round. Fine enough. I'm going to give it a B. He's my 2nd favorite rookie quarterback that you could have drafted. And I think for the way that the rookie quarterbacks are going a little hot, a little early. Again, thanks to Joe. I think that you made some noise with Josh Rosen in the 6th round. I think it was a solid pick. I think it goes well with Patrick Mahomes. If these two guys both work out, you've got 2 quality quarterbacks in middling rounds that could really make it something for you while Andy Dalton sits on the bench in future years. Mike Williams in the 9th round. I like him. If he can stay healthy, he's going to be great. He could definitely fill in that tight end role. You're not wrong. He's a mammoth. He was a guy that I was looking to draft. Didn't happen for me. It happened for you. And good on you. I'm going to give that for the 9th round. I'm going to give it a B, though. I think you could have taken him a little bit later. But you're going to get an A for the next guy you took, Hayden Hurst at the 11th, so it worked out for you, I think. That was somebody, once again, that I was looking for after that rings a bell, because I said Doug Sr. was going to do that. So I think you did have a pretty good draft. Hayden Hurst was somebody that I was hoping was going to fall to me. I think he should have gone before Dallas Goedert and Ricky Seals-Jones had he not gotten injured. So I think you got the value you could have for that. I think you took him when you probably had to, because, like I said, I was looking for him. Following that up, Chris Hogan. I'm going to give this one a C.
Really? There's no other receivers on the team.
Because I took Traquan Smith, and I could have had Chris Hogan. So the fact that I didn't take him means that it obviously wasn't as good of a value. But that being said, it was a good sneaky pick. Also a C because you told your brother to drop him, and I think it was about the same round. So shame on you.
That was the exact round. Yeah.
Shame on you. But yeah, there is nobody there. The only thing is injury concern. It's kind of the same thing I feel with Rex Burkhead. Yes, I think they are really good values, but I don't know that I want to touch those kind of players because they can go down very quickly. That same round, because you're a sneaky little bastard, and you've got tons of draft picks. You've got Trent Taylor, not Tyrod. Or it would have been Tyrod anyway. So I'm still not wrong. Trent Taylor, you've got
T-Rex Taylor
in the 12th round. I know you're really high on this one, Doug. I don't agree. I think the other guy that you took later is going to make sure that guy doesn't see the field quite as much. I think Dante Pettis was the better pick. So I'm going to give this one a C as well. I switch Chris Hogan to a B. I'm just messing around. But Trent Taylor to me is a C. Realistically, I think you took the guy that you needed to take later, so it kind of, in a way, it almost makes it that much worse to me. I think you got better value later with the right guy, and you took another guy too soon. But again, you traded for these picks, so it's just kind of free game. You're kind of freeballing it. It's clear that you like the San Francisco offense this season. The next pick you took was Keelan Cole. I'm going to give that an A because of the news break. He's definitely going to be a guy that's going to stand out this season. That being said, it does remind me a little bit of the Jets, only these guys are a bit more talented. So, D.D. Westbrook is going to be there too. I'm not high on Shark. I know Pat Mulvihill is. He's probably mad at me for saying this, but I think Keelan Cole and D.D. Westbrook are going to be the ones that benefit the most from this. And I think you got one of those two guys. Dante Pettis, I will give a A as well. I think for the amount of talent still left for wide receiver, he was probably one of the most prolific of the players, the most athletic. So Dante Pettis gets an A as well. Damn, you have a lot of picks. I feel like I'm going to lose my voice. What's next? Oh, you took Samaje Perine on the 14th. I get it. Don't love it. I'm going to give it a C. I think with Peterson there, it's going to be that kind of clogged up backfield that, yes, it was worth the pick technically. It was the best available. But to me, I just don't want a part of that backfield whatsoever. I think not only do they suck this year, as in the Redskins, so that's just going to make Chris Thompson's value that much better because they're going to be passing constantly. Maybe if they had a stout defense and they could afford to run the ball every other play, Samaje Perine would have more value. I'm not a fan of that pick, though. After that, you took Mark Walton. He was a rookie that I did have on my radar. I think he could be the next Gio Bernard. I think it's all going to depend on how well Mixon can hold off a full workload. He is at risk of not making the team. I will say that, which could cost him some concern. But I think he's a sneaky later pick. Good for PPR. Not something Doug usually drafts. I'm actually wowed.
I like those workhorse running backs.
I think he was kind of taken after my playbook and maybe saw something good out of it. So I'm going to give that a solid B. I think that was really good on you, Doug. Taken after the master. Chad Williams in the 17th round. I've heard a lot of good things in the preseason. That is your next pick. You get somebody got that pick.
Yeah, it's hard to tell where they're at.
Chad Williams, interesting pick. I think it all depends on how ready Kirk is. If Kirk's not ready, this guy could be a nice PPR wide receiver. He's got a lot of good chemistry in the preseason. Could be a good value pick. I think it's probably somebody that you're either going to throw him back immediately next season without a doubt, or you're going to know he was totally worth it. It's going to be one of the. It's not going to be one of those. Should I keep him picks? It's going to be really obvious. So for that, I will give you for the round and for some of the other things you could have gone with. I'm going to give it a C.
I think that was my last pick, if I'm not mistaken.
Phew.
You want to give it an overall draft grade
Just
there,
ran
Connor?
a marathon. I'm going to give your draft a B, Doug. Like
Everyone's got a B. But no, that draft was one of those
a B plus if I could.
It's like that's the type of thing you can do when you're rebuilding. By the way, guys, you can move back in rounds. You can pick up draft picks, throw a bunch of stuff at the wall, see what sticks. It's another way to do it. Ray was picking around me in most of these rounds. Ray, his first pick, Chris Carson, running back for Seattle. What did you think of the Chris Carson pick?
I get it. I don't love it, but I get it. I think if he wants to win now, he wants to win now, but could Rashad Penny, Katie, please keep it. Rashad Penny maybe would have been better value for him in the long run, but it is a top second-round pick. If Chris Carson does keep a hold of that backfield, this could really be a player that helps him win this year. His team is definitely not far off from that. We've seen him get better and better each season. Chris Carson, the second round, he's a guy you can throw away next season. If he is good this season, good on him. I think he probably could have done better off going with a rookie here, if Kerryon Johnson or even Rashad Penny again. Could have been the better pick, but I don't blame him for what he's doing. I see what he saw, and I'm going to give him a B for that. If we go to his next pick, which he didn't have for quite some time, which is another reason why he wanted to take a more mainframed, going to play immediately running back, which, again, makes more sense. You've got Christian Kirk in the 6th round. He was a guy that I was looking for, and he took him a little bit too early to me. But I do love the value for future years. I took Larry Fitzgerald in the 3rd round, and there's a chance he could be similar to Larry Fitzgerald in the future after he retires, most likely after this season. So for that, I'm going to give him, even though he took him a little bit too high, I'm going to give him a B. You're lucky, Ray, because I love Christian Kirk. I think that's too high, but the value is there. I understand. And once again, I'm with you. I think you could have made better decisions, but they're there. Doug, how do you feel about me giving Bs to both Chris Carson and Christian Kirk to this point?
Both Chris Carson and Christian Kirk. I didn't really like the Christian Kirk value, but like we talked about before earlier in the show, it's like that's where all the rookie receivers were going. Everybody at the draft seemed to want Christian Kirk. That was one of those picks where it's like everyone kind of goes like, "Oh, damn it, I wanted him." And when that happens, I guess it wasn't too early, right? So I definitely like Carson getting a B, and I guess because of everyone else, Christian Kirk was a B too. You identify the player you want, you pay what you need to get on your team. He had quite a few rounds after that where he did not have any picks. He had some good keepers there. Bilal Powell, running back for the Jets in the 12th round. I thought it was decent value. I don't think he's going to light the world on fire, but I thought it was decent value. What did you think?
I think for going that long without getting another running back, I'm going to give it an A. I do know there's a lot of bad reports saying Bilal Powell's they're looking for his replacement. They loved McGuire until he went down. They're trying to add extra guys, but then I saw him get 25 carries in the 3rd preseason game compared to Isaiah Crowell getting 10. I think that was partly due to Isaiah Crowell's recovery from a concussion, but It also shows that Bilal Powell is a guy they have in mind, and he's going to be a part of this offense. Now that they have the quarterback of the future that's going to want to be throwing the ball constantly, Bilal Powell could have great PPR value. So that's why I'm going to give him an A. I think for the round that he got him, what was still available, you couldn't have asked for more, especially for a team like Rays where he's trying to compete now. He doesn't need the young back.
Yeah, I mean, it was one of those just pick the guy that falls kind of picks. I'll give it a B just because I don't think there's a whole lot of upside.
You're a bitch. B stands for bitch. Is that what it is?
B stands for badass. After that, he grabs Los Angeles Rams tight end Tyler Higbee. I thought this was way too early for Tyler Higbee. What were your thoughts on that?
Yeah, I agree, especially when guys like Mark Andrews, again, I guess I like your brother's pick of Mark Andrews. I keep bringing that one up for later value. Even Vance McDonald, at least there's guys with more of a sure situation. With Tyler Higbee there, yes, he's athletically a freak talent, but Everett's there, and it's gonna affect.
Also a freak talent.
Yeah, it's gonna affect his status. I think he made a better draft pick at tight end later. So I'm gonna give that I'm gonna give it a D.
I gave it a D as well. That's my pencil breaks. I can't find my pen. I'm going to give it a D just because it's not sure. If we knew that he was the number one tight end for the Rams and was going to basically, if he was going to put the same numbers, he's going to put it anyway.
Yeah, if there was one guy,
yeah,
he'd probably be a much higher pick.
Yeah, he probably would have gone a couple rounds earlier. Mason Rudolph in the 14th round for the guy that owns Ben Roethlisberger. A very interesting pick. I'm not sure how long he's going to need to keep him to get value out of it, though. What do you think on Mason Rudolph?
That was kind of I think I told him I wish he died. I think I said the draft at that point.
Nice.
It's
classy is what it is.
Because he needed to go later to me in like the 17th round, which is what I was hoping for. I think it kind of defeats the purpose at this stage of the game to take him in the 14th round. He does have Big Ben though, so that does give him more stock to take him sooner, I suppose. I would have given this an A in the 17th round or 16th round. At 14, I'm gonna have to give it a C.
A C. I will give it a B for the simple reason that he owns Ben Roethlisberger.
Mm-hmm.
If he didn't own Ben Roethlisberger, if this was just another team, I don't know, if I drafted it this year, I wouldn't be crazy about it because I don't own Ben Roethlisberger. So if Ben Roethlisberger retires, not only does he not have to take the hit of losing Ben Roethlisberger, he actually almost improved because now he has to start a quarterback in the 14th round. So, but it could be 3 years. We could be in another Jimmy Garoppolo situation.
Yeah.
And it's a lot harder to keep throwing.
And is he even going to be Jimmy Garoppolo?
Yeah, and to keep committing to a 14th round pick instead of an 18th round pick. I know it's not that much of a difference, but it is a difference. And we did see Mason Rudolph in his first pass against the Packers the other day, pick 6. So definitely got a long way to go there. But he does have a college teammate, James Washington, on the team with him. I think that'll help probably both of their development.
Which also shows you how much they have a stake for him, I think, as well.
Mm-hmm.
It's clear they want him in the future.
Yeah. James Conner, another.
He's loading up on the backups in Pittsburgh.
Ray's out here. I will be the beneficiary of the Steelers offense.
You want to be the next Kevin Hemian, huh? Sweet Nectar?
That's right. Sweet Nectar Crowbuck. James Conner has looked great in preseason. I don't know that he's the heir apparent to the Le'Veon Bell. What are your thoughts?
Yeah, I've never really been on board with that mentality. I think he's been like, this guy's a great backup if we need him for a couple weeks. I'm trying to see what else went off. I mean, John Kelly would have been a better pick to me for if you're talking about backup.
Well, he clearly has a very high opinion of the.
Well, yeah. I also think my Chase Edmonds backup pick was better if you're talking about backup running backs. I think James Conner has no means to be the heir apparent like you were talking about, and I think it was too high. And I'm gonna give it a C.
I gave it a C as well. I do think he'll have value next year. Like if Lev Bell's not on the team next year, I do think
there is a chance. Yeah,
like he'll be in a committee that they're going to bring somebody else in. I don't know who it is. Could be Tevin Coleman. I think would be a nice pair with him out of Atlanta. Could be Mark Ingram. That kind of seems like the Steelers thing to do. I don't know.
There's going to be some hot names.
But if there's something I know for sure, is that James Conner is not the next coming of Le'Veon Bell.
Yeah.
He grabs Tyler Kroft in the 65th. I like this pick a lot. If there's one thing we can be sure of, it's that Tyler Eifert's not going to stay healthy.
Yep, that's what I got. I think I'm leaving it an
I'll give it a B just because, as of now, Tyler Reifert is healthy, so we don't know what he's going to do. I think Tyler Croft was on Ray's team last year, so Ray's intimately familiar with the type of stuff he can do. I saw there were some people who had criticized Tyler Croft for re-signing with the Bengals this offseason. It's like, well, he should have gone somewhere he can start. It's like, he's probably going to get to start in Cincinnati, so what difference does it make?
Like we already joked in previous pods. He's like, wait, I'm not the starter.
You sure? He's not even the best Tyler on his team, but he might end up scoring the most fantasy points. I'll give that one a B. And between him and another Tyler Higbee, probably has a decent tight end too there somewhere along the lines. Philip Dorsett in the 17th round. I'm not crazy about Philip Dorsett as a player, but as the Patriots continue to pare down their wide receiver core, somebody's got to catch the ball. Tom Brady is still the quarterback there, so they're still going to have a good offense. I'm going to give this an A. I there's almost no way he can't be okay. And
I'm surprised. I thought we're going to be fighting over this one. I'm giving this an A. I've been watching Philip Dorsett semi-intently, not too much, but I've been looking at him. He's been a rave at camp, and I've watched wide receiver after wide receiver fall. Kenny Britt, Mitchell to start with, with the retirement of Decker. I've just been watching these guys fall like flies, and all I keep hearing is how great Philip Dorsett looks in camp.
He's a starting receiver on that team.
And for the first 4 weeks, guaranteed he's going to see a lot of time. And even after those 4 weeks, if he can play his cards right, I could see him really carving out a role. I love this pick.
Yeah, this is a good pick for Ray. Just another rotational player for this receiving core, which by the way is a really good receiving core. So he's going to be a bye week guy, and I think he's a great bye week guy. I think he just took a really long time to develop. Vikings defense was a keeper, but I do like the Vikings defense. Tim's team, who's been patiently waiting on his.
Let's get those questions, Tim. I know you're watching.
His first pick he made was at number 17 overall with Josh Gordon. Now, Tim said that he knew he wasn't going to get the running backs. Like, and if the running backs he liked didn't fall, he was just going to go all in on wide receiver. And he started it off with Josh Gordon. What do we think about Josh Gordon in 2018 and beyond?
He's burned me. It hurt. But a part of me would have wanted to get burned again if it happened to fall the right way.
I just can't quit you.
Yeah. I can't give it up. I think this might be the time that he finally gives you what you want too. I like this pick a lot for what was already off the board. I'm gonna give it an A, Doug. I feel like there's something going on. I'm telling you, Josh Gordon this year.
There is something to be said. Josh Gordon is probably one of the 7 or 8 best, most talented receivers in the NFL. I mean, this is a guy. He looks like a linebacker out there, and he runs like a 4.4. The guy, I mean, he's really talented.
He fits in perfectly with what other wide receivers are there. Mm-hmm. Maybe besides Callaway, but I don't think Callaway's good.
Well, Callaway's a smaller, faster guy.
So. I think the 3 of those guys together are kind of perfect.
No excuses for Baker Mayfield.
Yeah.
Josh Gordon, and you know what? He probably was the best player available in the draft at this point. So it's a great pick. I'll give it a B just because I thought he needed a running back, but. Who's he gonna take? Marshawn Lynch, Josh Gordon, I think will be arguably Tim's best player this year. Mm-hmm. He follows that up with grabbing Demaryius Thomas in the 4th round. Now, the value is fine. The player is good. The talent's fine. Like all of that. So on all of that, I'll give it a B. But he threw back Larry Fitzgerald in this spot.
Yeah.
To get younger at wide receiver.
Again. Yeah, I agree with you. It's got to be a B. The talent, you can't.
There's nothing wrong with it.
There's nothing wrong with the pick. I just feel like
a little bit disconnected strategy.
Yeah. I feel like he definitely corrects that too later. I noticed, but yeah, it was a great pick for a different team. So I'm going to give it a B. It could have been an A for someone else.
For value, it's fine. Don't trip over it, Tim. In the 5th round though, Marquise Goodwin, that's an A. This is one of the best receivers that was available in the draft. Obviously, I drafted 2 of the receivers. I'm high on the San Francisco offense. Tim Scott, Jimmy Garoppolo, which makes it a lot of fun when you get that big 20-point play, and he feels really good. Marquise Goodwin is just blazing fast, but towards the end of last season, he was doing stuff other than just being a deep threat. He was running possession routes.
He's clearly continued it in camp this year. All the reports are that he is Garoppolo's favorite target. I'm seeing a lot of good coming from.
Yeah, the value's good. The talent is awesome. The connection with the quarterback is good. The offense should be good. The coaching's good. Great pick by Tim here. A couple rounds later, he grabs Nelson Aguilar. This is another one of those examples of receivers that probably could have gone earlier. I think maybe Adam should have taken him into the 7th round instead of Taywan Taylor. Nelson Aguilar, great wide receiver 3 type player, kind of one of those guys who just kind of fallen down the board. And Tim made a gut call and grabbed him. I'll give this one a B. Says, you know what? With the Jeffrey thing, I'm going to give it an A because Nelson Aguilar, he's basically the #1 receiver on one of the best offenses in the league. What are your thoughts?
I'm not so high, only because I got the benefit of seeing what he ended up getting after this.
Mm-hmm.
And I think he probably should have gone running back here. So for that, it's harsh to give him a C. I'm still going to give him a B here, but I think he really should have thought about running back here instead, just to cheer up what he was going to have going into the season, just as a roster in general. But, I mean, when you look at the guys he's going to come up with later, I think it's going to be something to talk about. We'll get to it.
And Tim, we'll answer your question at the end of your team, so everything's kind of wrapped up. We don't forget to touch on anything. Round 8, Chris Godwin. You got Goodwin, Godwin. Chris Godwin, we've talked about ad nauseum on this podcast. I think we're both fans of him. The value's good, talent's good. Another good wide receiver. I think this is another A.
I'm giving it an A as well.
If his strategy was, I'm not going to beat people with running backs, let me just crush them the wide receiver. He executed it.
Hey, I mean, maybe he's taken after Carlo.
Yeah, I mean, he saw it work last year, and he's got kind of a similar structure. He's got Leonard Fournette, which could be his LaShawn McCoy, and he can kind of piece some stuff together. Carlos Hyde, Frank Gore, but that's for a State of the Franchise podcast. I really think Chris Godwin in the 8th round is a great keeper.
Yeah. Tim asked, should I keep Stafford next year? I think it's going to be a direct correlation to how great Jimmy Garoppolo looks this season. Mm-hmm. I think if you know Jimmy Garoppolo is a stud,
if you can take it to the bank
this year, then yeah, you got the live. You can go ahead and say I don't need Stafford. I mean, as a 3rd round pick, I think he's worth the 3rd round pick in a sense. But you could probably get maybe next year's hot rookie to go with Garoppolo. You could get a decent value guy at some point in the middle rounds. But I would wait and see if Jimmy Garoppolo is going to be as good as advertised.
I'd probably keep him and then draft the rookie next year and then reevaluate.
Sure.
Just because he's top 10 quarterback. Take it to the bank. But like you said, if Jimmy Garoppolo hits, it gives you a lot more options.
Well, especially with him going wide receiver heavy, having that 3rd round pick could really get him another running back.
That could
next season. If he's going to be ready to compete with what he has now.
That could be very helpful. In the 10th round, he grabbed Lions 2nd-year receiver Kenny Golladay. Just another. I'll give this one a B. I'm not as high on Kenny Golladay as some people, just because.
Yeah, I'm not Carlo raving about his smooth routes, but
smooth jazz from Kenny G. But he's a good player. He helped this receiving core. Again, not sure that I wouldn't have taken a running back here, but the value's fine, the talent's fine. He just keeps hitting on these receivers in this draft.
Yeah, I mean, with the haul he's got, there's no way he doesn't have at least 4 wide receivers to bank on next season that are going to make a huge difference.
I'd be shocked if he doesn't. Yeah.
Yeah, at least 4.
Plus Gordon, like whatever that is. So you go B on that one as well.
Yes.
Frank Gore in the 11th round, when this is the only running back Tim drafted, but the value is great. I think we mocked him in the 5th round consistently when we've done mocks. I'm going to give this one an A.
Don't sleep on Frank Gore.
It's not a flashy pick by any means, but he's going to be better than just about any running back taken after him.
Yeah.
This season. He's just a solid player, unexciting, and we'll get the job done for you. And plus, throw it back next year, you have the draft pick.
Yeah.
So, what's your grade on Frank Gore?
I'm going to give it an A as well. I think for 11th round to have a guy that should have gone for value alone in about the 8th at least, he should have gone right after the Garrett Blount-ish range. I think. Yeah, that's a steal.
Paul Richardson, I know you and I are both fans of.
I'm a big fan
of the talent. The value, I think the value's about right based on how this draft went. I think he went right where he should have gone. this is kind of the point for me where I think Tim maybe could have stopped taking receivers, but Paul Richardson, I believe in the talent. If he's healthy, he's a wide receiver too. I think. I'll give this one a B because the health risks, but I think the value's fine. I think the talent's fine.
I'm still giving it an A at this point because I'm going to be harsher on some of the other ones now. But I think I'm going to give it an A because I love Paul Richardson's talent, and because as much as he's injury prone, out of what's going on with their wide receivers, he's the only one who stayed healthy at this point. So I think he's primed for a great season. I think he's got the most time with Smith this season outside of the tight ends, and I think he's gonna have I hope anyway. I think he could have a really standout season. He's due. He's had the talent. I'd love to see him get it, at least for a season.
And some of the catches that guy makes are just incredible. D.D. Westbrook in round 13. I think this was kind of a function of Carlo breaking the Marquise Lee injury news during the draft.
I mean, look at the round. It's all
like
all of them.
Three Jaguars receivers went within 5 picks of each other. I'm going to give this one a C. I thought maybe he could have gotten him a couple rounds later. I think what Tim did really well in this draft was reacted to the way the draft was going and kind of zigged when everyone else was zagging and ended up getting a lot of really good value. This was a very reactionary pick in a bad way.
Yeah.
In the sense that he's like, oh, well, I got to get a Jags receiver. He didn't need a receiver at all at this point. And I think taking D.D. Westbrook, I like the talent for what that's worth, but I'm not super convinced that this was the right pick for Tim at the time. So I'll give it a C.
Yeah,
every team could have got a different grade.
I'm going to give it a C as well. I mean, I just look, and he could have taken a jab at Kenneth Dixon, like Pat ends up doing. He could have gone with a rookie like Ito Smith, like me. He could have gone some kind of rookie running back route. I know he was really trying to get that wide receiver core figured out, but I think he did it already.
Yeah.
So to go with this, I think it was kind of the hype train, and he kind of went along with it. I think he really could have grabbed a running back that could have made a difference for him here instead. Taking the guy he liked the most, not a sure thing, but, take a stab in the dark.
Not a bad player, but the wrong player.
Yeah.
His next pick after that, though, Mark Andrews, figures to start for the Ravens at tight end, at least in receiving packages. Just 21 years old and was a great receiving threat at Oklahoma. This is kind of, I think, one of those sneaky A's we were talking about earlier. I think he could be really good. I think we could actually see kind of a Hurst and Andrews, like Gronk and Aaron Hernandez kind of thing going on.
Who's Hernandez?
I don't know. Where's Hurst right now? Getting a screw put in his foot, huh? No, but I think Mark Andrews. I think he just kind of fell for no. I think it's probably because of Hurst.
Yeah, I think this is a fantastic pick. It's an absolute A for me. On
a team that needed a tight end really badly. So.
I think this really puts him on the market too. If things don't work out and they can't coexist, he's going to have these 3 or 4 weeks to really showcase his ability. Mm-hmm. He could either do something with it for this team itself and really carve out a role that people didn't think he was going to get, or people are going to be looking back on the tape from this year, and it's a 15th round keeper. We could see this guy on another team in a couple of years and it'd be worth the value, because I think he's going to coexist, like you said, with Hurst enough that he's still worth the 15th round while that's happening. But he could be something much more on the right team, or if Hurst were to continue to get injured. I think this is a fantastic pick.
Yeah,
one of my favorites from his draft.
Which was a good draft for what it's worth too. Yeah. If you haven't been able to tell from our grades, Gerald Everett, kind of the same, kind of a similar situation. I like this Gerald Everett pick a lot more than I like the Tyler Higbee pick. I might like Tyler Higbee better than I like Gerald Everett, and I think I do. But the value in the 16th round here is fine. I'll give this one a B, I guess, just because it's another tight end. He's high upside, very fast. Not super sure he's going to be like great this season. But
again, for me, I think he should have gone running back again. I think he definitely should have taken more running backs. But I think it's a nice pair up with Mark Andrews. I think there's two guys that, one of these two guys, they both have great talent.
He's got one tight end between
us. Yeah,
two.
One of those two guys is going to work out at least, hopefully. So I'm going to give it a B. I would give it a C if he hadn't have taken Mark Andrews. If he'd taken another wide receiver before this, maybe I would have given Everett an A, because that's where
enough with the wide receivers.
Too much.
Speaking of wide receivers, in the 17th round, he spends his last draft pick on now Bills receiver Corey Coleman. I kind of view this pick similarly to the Bills trading for Corey Coleman. Like no risk involved, right? If he works out, great. If he doesn't, great as well. But he's cutting him. He didn't need to. I gotta give this a C. He would have to be so good to play on this team, and I think there's almost no chance that he's that good.
I'm going to give it an F, Doug.
An F, really?
I don't think he's making the team.
Or he'll catch on somewhere though.
Maybe, but I think if he can't make
it might be better for him if he doesn't make
if
the
he
team.
gets if he gets told by the Browns, you know what, go ahead, and then he gets sent to the Bills and he can't make the roster. What roster has worse wide receivers than the Bills right now?
That's fair.
Maybe the Cowboys. I don't know. I shouldn't be too harsh on him. But I mean, to me, you've already gotten how many wide receivers to this point? You've already nailed it.
Yeah.
It's overkill at this point. You didn't need to do any more wide receivers. Take a stab at some random running back. Really, I really think
Jeremy Hill would have been a great pick right there.
Yeah, somebody at running back, anything. Just take a shot. I mean, I think he didn't realize how well he drafted with some of those early picks, and that's why he ended up going with Corey Coleman.
Yeah. I'm going to give the overall draft a B. Could have been better. The only thing here is like you see it. Like he showed up to the draft. I don't know if you noticed he had like 2 or 3 magazines with him. Like Tim had done his homework. He had a plan. He executed it, and he reacted to the draft mostly in a good way. And he stayed for the whole draft. I thought this was one of Tim's better drafts he's had since he's been in the league. And he doesn't have the running back depth to win this year. But receiver's done. Like it's done. It's solved.
Sometimes if you just solve one position at a time,
now he can throw back like the 2 that don't work out. Draft a bunch of running backs and watch out for this team next year because he's got the quarterbacks, he'll have the receivers. Tim, to answer your question, what do I do about my running back situation? Just you need to be extremely vigilant. Like you need to be vigilant in this league anyway on running backs. You need to take that up to another degree. You need to draft claim running backs on waivers until the position is solved for you, and then continue to do it. You don't have any depth at all. TJ Yeldon's a handcuff, who will be like an RB2 probably if he gets to play. You'll be okay as long as your guys are healthy, but one injury and you're in a real tough spot. So just stay vigilant on it, and I think you'll be okay. If you can execute on waivers running backs the way you did receivers in the draft, I think you'll be more than fine. I think this is a team that's gonna be a real problem, probably in the first choice tournament. But if he gets into the playoffs, I wouldn't. If he gets into the playoffs healthy, I'd watch out. This is a team to watch out for. Kevin, this one will be short. His first pick, Peyton Barber, a running back with a big role, I think was the move here. What were your thoughts?
I'm going to give this one a B. I think he could have gone with. I think part of what happened was he saw Rex Burkhead and he already owns James White. I think that's the biggest problem with where he ended up going. Crowell's gone. I think that probably would have been the pick for him outside of, if any of those. I mean, he was close to having a rookie fall to him, honestly. Closer than I think he thought he was ever going to be. I know you're not a fan, Doug, but I think Peyton Barber has a chance. F. Jones can't show anything like he has shown. I think Barber's could be a starter the entire year, and I think he'd be very adequate, exactly what he needs. He needs a consistent 10-point to 12-point running back. I think that's exactly what he grabbed. So I'm going to give it a B.
Yeah, I'll give it a C for the simple reason that I think I would have preferred him draft C.J. Anderson here. And that's basically, he easily could have had him. But if he prefers Barber, whatever. His next pick was Corey Clement, and I like this pick. I don't know if you noticed, I had him being drafted really high in a lot of our mocks. This is a guy that I'm a fan of. I think there was a really crowded backfield in Philly last year. A couple of those guys have left. Darren Sproles. I think Darren Sproles is a non-factor personally, but I think Corey Clement. I mean, he's a great pass-catching running back, and he can run between the tackles a little bit too. So I'm going to give this one an A. I think this is. I think he went right where he probably should have, but I think Kevin does a really good job identifying pass-catching running backs, and he did it again here.
Yeah, I agree. An A, especially. There's some really great, well, not great news, but news that Ajayi may not be healthy for week 1. And if Corey Clement gets a chance to start the season and showcase everything he's got, That's only going to mean more touches. I mean, he's not going to steal the starting role. It's going to be Ajayi's backfield, but they've already shown that they don't want to use Ajayi all the time. So Corey Clement's going to get a fair share, and if he gets an opportunity to showcase an entire week of it, he's only going to get more. And I think that just ups how great this pick is. I think it's definitely could be one of the key factors to Kevin making a run this year.
I don't usually give like super high grades to something when I think he paid full retail, which I think he did, but I think this was the right player for the right team at the right time. A couple rounds later, grabs Baltimore Ravens rookie quarterback Lamar Jackson. Now, if this is the quarterback that he identified as the one he liked, I think it's an A because it lets him cut Drew Brees next year, which answers Kevin's question. Was it a mistake to keep Brees? No, because you didn't have another quarterback, and I maybe wouldn't have told you to draft one. But drafting Lamar Jackson becomes a good pick. If you really think Lamar Jackson is better than Sam Darnold, this is an A. I personally don't, so I'm going to give it a B. What are your thoughts on this one?
I'm going to give it an A because I think if there was a team to take this player, it was his team. I think it makes the most sense possibly out of everyone. I think if this works out and Lamar Jackson ends up, I mean, he's already shown with his late pick of Dak Prescott that sometimes it's just the right situation at the right time and the talent just bleeds out. And I think if you're talking about Dak having talent, this guy could be the next, not quite, but next Michael Vick. I mean, this guy showcases a lot of the talent. That's amazing for fantasy. If you're going to take that risk, I think he's got the team to do that risk. And especially when so much of his value is early. If Lamar Jackson hits in the 7th round, he can breathe and really free up some of those early picks.
And go grab some rookie running back he likes next year. To maybe
he can make a run next year if this doesn't work out at this point. If Lamar Jackson is all that's advertised.
I would love to see something from Lamar Jackson like later in the season where he has like just like an efficient game. Doesn't like is that I mean like he's not going to be a 480, 500 yard. He's not going to be Matt Stafford throwing the ball out there.
Yeah.
Probably ever. But if he can go out there and be, Dak Prescott a little bit at the end of the year, I think that would be a major win. And then Kevin could cut Brees without even really thinking about it.
Yeah.
Later in the draft, made one other pick, right? Was that it?
Yeah.
Blake Jarwin. I hated this pick. I'm gonna give it a D because he's probably the starting tight end for the Cowboys, but he didn't need a tight end at all. So I didn't like the pick. I understand, if you like a guy, you take a dart on him, but I wasn't crazy about taking a tight end that has next to zero chance of playing for him this year. What were your thoughts on this one?
I do think he's going to be one of the guys that – I mean, he already can throw back Marquise Lee, unfortunately. But I do think after that he's going to be throwing Blake Jarwin to the Wolves, which with having Jackson probably not be – he's probably not going to be a guy he wants on his roster either. He's got 3 guys to drop now. I think he'd probably play the waiver wire early with that. It'd be fine. But I guess Blake Jarwin, the problem is he's not a guy that you drop and wait for next year. I think it was also at 4 this year. So it's kind of an issue. I'm going to give it a C just because I think he probably got the right guy. But like you said, he doesn't need it. And honestly, he's going to drop him anyway. He's going to be a waiver pickup for somebody who needs a tight end on an off week and probably not going to go back to him.
I would have much preferred Johnny Smith.
Well, I think the problem was, wait, was it after?
Yeah, 13th for Jarwin, 14th for Smith.
I'm gonna give it a D then. Johnny Smith should have been the pick.
Yeah,
I didn't realize that.
If you had to take a tight end,
oh yeah,
it was Smith or even Mark Andrews. Honestly, or
I guess Davis could have been taken.
Yeah, because of the Jordan Reed thing.
Yeah.
But
that's what he's worried about.
I think it was an okay player, but the absolute wrong team. That's kind of my analysis on that. Yeah, here comes good old Pat. I love the beginning of Pat's draft. He grabbed Royce Freeman, who's been the best-looking rookie running back so far. Mm-hmm. That's not really saying a whole lot. He's been the only one that's looked good at all. But I'll give that one an A because it's a good young player.
Oh, what's that, Doug? You giving Royce Freeman in the first round?
I almost took Royce Freeman at number 6 overall.
Oh, if you did, I would have never let that down.
That's part of the reason I didn't do it.
Yeah.
I thought he sucked, Doug. What about Devontae Booker?
Yeah, I love this pick. It's an A for me. I think he got probably the rookie, I guess. I guess you could say in the long run for PPR value, Royce Freeman may not be the great guy, but in terms of this year, which Pat needs. I think he got not only did he get a rookie talent, but he got a now player, which is what he needs because his team's competing for the championship.
Yeah, this might be the best season of Royce Freeman's career.
Yeah.
And that's just fine for Pat.
Yeah.
In the second round, he grabbed Sony Michel. We haven't seen him, but I mean,
to me, it's such a great pairing with Freeman, though.
Yeah,
I'm giving it another A. Yeah.
I'll give it a B just because we haven't seen the guy. But I trust Bill Belichick to the point.
And if Tom Brady retires, my God,
they're going to feature Sony Michel. And Sony Michel kind of like got billed coming out of college as kind of like a pass catching like third down back. Dude's 6 foot and 220 pounds. Like guy is.
The only reason I said that is because Nick Chubb was also on the roster.
Yeah, and it made him look so much smaller. Sony Michel, I think is a good. I'm going to give it an A too. Sony Michel is. I was actually thinking about him at 6, but I couldn't do it with the injuries and stuff like that. But another great pick. DJ Moore in the 4th round was not a pick I would have expected Pat to make, but looking at the way his roster is currently constructed, was the absolute right pick.
Yeah. I think your dad and Pat, this first 4 rounds, they had some of the best drafts by far to me.
Yeah, I think he did a really, really nice job here.
I think he's the most pro-ready rookie wide receiver. I think he's not quite as good as some of the other guys, but I think as long as he doesn't keep speeding, I think he's going to be I think he's going to finish as the top rookie wide receiver in total yards.
Should he have thought about Demaryius Thomas here, given the fact that his team is competing for a championship?
Sure, but I mean, if he's already gone rookie gung ho already, I say just
full ass.
Just he went all in. Do it.
All right, another great pick from Pat there. His next pick was quite a bit later. It was what is that, the 10th round? At 10th round, he got New Orleans Saints tight end Ben Watson. This is a pick I personally struggled with because like he'll be worth that draft pick probably like in the grand scheme of things, but the dude's 1,000 years old. What was your take on this?
Thing is though, is he's got Travis Kelce, so I think the pairing of that, you've got high octane offense in the Saints. Ben Watson's going to get his touchdowns. The guy, he's the Frank Gore of tight ends. I'm going to give it a C still because I think he probably should have thought younger. But again, he's competing for a championship this year, and with what he does in his next couple picks, I think makes up for it. Yes, he could have had Hayden Hurst.
I don't know. He's probably going to be better. I don't know. I wasn't pleased about it just because of the age, but he's probably going to be better than all those guys this year.
Yeah.
And not every pick needs to be a keeper. So I think it's a C. I think a C is fair because it's a decent player. The age and where he drafted him isn't great. James Washington, he takes in the 11th round here as a young receiver out of Pittsburgh. Do we like this pick here? Is it soon? What was your thoughts on this?
I think it was high, but again, take what you want. He took what he wanted. Yeah, I'm gonna give it a B. Could have been a little bit later. I think honestly, if he had swapped even to the extent John Brown and Washington there,
it's just a couple picks.
Yeah, just not too many picks. I think it would have been a real success. But it's still a B to me. I think he took what he wanted, and if he works out, yeah.
I like the talent. I like where he's the offense he's on. I don't necessarily like where he drafted him, but it's fine. He doesn't really need him to be good this year, so it is what it is. Was that round 12? John Brown, that's an A for me.
Yeah, I think it goes perfectly to James Washington.
Yeah, and like you said, if you flip those, like who cares, right? But like if you flip those, because we always talk about take the older player first, but you don't know if you were going to take James Washington there. But John Brown, all the reports have been great out of Baltimore. We've seen that kind of speedster receiver have a lot of fantasy utility in that Ravens offense with Joe Flacco. I think this is such a great pick, and it's the type. Pat's a smart owner. This is the type of pick the smart owners make.
Yep.
So, great player. And I think I remember when you took Traquan Smith here. We'll get to in a second. I remember just take Paul Richardson or John Brown there for the next 2 picks. So I followed it up with DJ Chark. What were your thoughts on DJ Chark?
I am not a fan. I will say.
Raw.
I will say though, Pat had a look in his eye that told me, "I don't give a shit what you think."
Like nothing.
And you know what? I love that in an owner. If you think that's the guy, then you fucking take him. And he did. Pardon my French, but
I don't.
But I'm gonna just because he gave me that look, I'm gonna give him a C. I'm not particularly that high on it. I think with with this new injury, he does have more of a shot now with Marquise Lee going down. But honestly, I'm not a fan of Shark in this situation.
Yeah, I thought it was a little high, but that guy is like 6'4" and ran like a 4.3. So I mean, there are things to like about the player. I'll give it a C as well, just because he's not as good as Keelan Cole. Sorry, Pat. But I mean, it's also got Blake Bortles as a quarterback. I mean, long term, I think this could be a good pick. But the guy's just so raw. They didn't really run routes at LSU. But then again, so Odell Beckham and Jarvis Landry came out of there, and they weren't great routes. So Jeremy McNichols in the last round. You made this pick for him.
Kenneth Dixon.
Oh, sorry, Kenneth Dixon. I saw this. I thought it was a K. Kenneth Dixon, the running back out of Baltimore. This is one of those guys who's like great young talent. He's had problems with suspensions and staying healthy. What do you think, Kenneth Dixon?
That's why I give him a B. It's a shot. It's a chance. And in this round, again, that's what great owners do. They take a chance on something like that. You know, for all we know, you could be taking over your first round pick, Alex Collins. I think it's going to happen. Most likely not. But the talent's potentially there.
He's not. They're similarly talented players. Okay. So yeah, with that, Jerry McNichols was a dart throw that I think Pat told Connor he liked. We don't waste too much time on it. It's one of those picks that could work out on a decent offense there in San Francisco. C's all around. I'll break down Connor's roster here as I have the floor. First pick was AJ Green, receiver out of Cincinnati. One of the best receivers in the league on a team that needed a receiver. That's an A all day long. I really thought that Connor lucked out by, I think, really Alex taking Tom Brady allowed AJ Green to be there. So I thought that was an easy A. Larry Fitzgerald in the third round. Connor's obviously not keeping him because he's an aging player. But again, on a team that needs a receiver, he's now starting Fitzgerald, Evans, and AJ Green. That's one of the best starting receiving corps in the league. I think that is another A. Now, I was initially critical to Connor off the air about this Isaiah Crowell in the round 4 pick. Isaiah Crowell is one of those guys that gets it's his 5th year in the league. I thought he was like 27, 28 years old, just 25 years old, lead back on what should probably be a bad offense. But on a team that has as many good running backs as Connor's, I think it makes sense. I'll give it a B. He's a decent talent, but not really one with a lot of upside, I suppose, just because the offense is so bad. I'll say one of my favorite picks on Connor's entire draft was his 8th round pick of Sam Darnold. Unbelievable value. I would not have expected him to be the last rookie quarterback taken. Sam Darnold filled a need. He helped Connor build for the future. And he's an 8th round keeper. This to me is an A all day long. I don't know how you can have any other opinion than that. The guy was the 3rd overall pick. Should have been the 1st overall pick in my mind. Ready-made prospect. Going to throw a lot of picks this year. I think that's pretty obvious, especially with a shoddy offensive line, a questionable running game, and questionable receivers. But I think the talent will just eventually win out. The pick I wasn't as crazy about was his 9th round pick of Jordan Wilkins. This is one of those picks that you make when you're just like, I don't know about what's going on in Indy, but I want to take a shot at it. Jordan Wilkins. I'll give this one a B because it could work out. It's just so murky there. I don't know how you give it anything more. A few rounds later in the 12th, Connor kind of surprised some people by taking Saints rookie wide receiver Traquan Smith. I'll give this one a C just because of the value. I think he could have gotten him a little bit later, and we'll touch on that more when we get to some of these other players. But there were better receivers on the board. John Brown, Paul Richardson, Chris Hogan, Antonio Callaway. I like it as a talent better. I don't necessarily know that he's going to be a better fantasy prospect, but it was just a little early for me. But, like Connor said a million times, you like a guy, sack up and take him, right?
Yeah, it did.
2 rounds later, he grabs Ito Smith, rookie running back for Atlanta. He could take that Tevin Coleman role next year. I think he'll probably have to compete with somebody that they draft next year to get it. The guy is talented, has shown the ability when needed to be a workhorse running back. I'm going to give this one an A. I think Ito Smith is I think he's a great talent. He's got a great shot, great opportunity. Doesn't have a role this year. I mean, I don't know if Connor's already cut him. He's gonna. But he could. Another pick, and this was the one I was referring to earlier, Pierre Garçon in the 15th round. If you were at the draft, which most of you were, you heard Connor say, like, okay, I guess I'll take him. Pierre Garçon in the 15th round. This is an A. If you flip this pick with the Traquan Smith pick, I don't have an issue with the Traquan Smith pick at all. The value is just
I will say
too good.
Pat said he was taking Traquan Smith right after me.
That's fair.
He's very angry.
That's fair, dog. That's fair, dog. But definitely like Pierre Garçon, but you know the name, you know the game on him. Chase Edmonds won't have value on Arizona as long as David Johnson is there. You could see, the contracts are weird, injuries are weird. We see Dave Johnson have some problems with injuries. I think that's way overblown for what it's worth. Last year was a wrist injury, and the year before was a knee injury. Didn't really miss any significant amount of time with it. Chase Edmonds, if you've seen him play in preseason, the guy can play. I don't know if he's an every down back if he gets the role. It does need to be. He's a great handcuff. And if something happens to David Johnson, who's on Connor's team, this is a great pick. And I always like handcuffs. In a league where you start three running backs, handcuffs get that much more important. So I'll give that one an A. The last pick that Connor made was Chris Warren. Now, this is a pick that's made if you're watching preseason games. Now, Chris Warren's dad played in the NFL for I don't know if it was a decade, maybe a little less. He played for the Seahawks for a long time. Was very good, Pro Bowl running back. His son is like 6'3" and like 250 pounds. The guy's a monster, right? I don't know how much run he's going to get in Oakland this year. But if there's an injury or if these old running backs in front of him look old in front of him, I mean, they have to keep the guy, right? He provides a little bit of utility in the passing game. I mean, he's not a passing downs back, but he's a big, hard runner, tough to bring down. And they have a coach, John Gruden, who likes that. This is my favorite pick that Connor made in the entire draft. So this is an A as well. I don't know if this will ever work out, really, but the talent's there, in my opinion. And it's funny, I took Mark Wall, and you said it's not a running back that I would normally take, and then you took Chris Warren. It's not a running back that you'd normally take. But if you had an expansion team, you get yourself some Mark Wall and some Chris Warren out there, let's fly. But yeah, overall, I thought this was a great draft. In a kind of like that way that kind of built for the future and built for now. I wouldn't have hated seeing like a couple more now picks, like maybe a Frank Gore instead of Jordan Wilkins. I get why you did that, but for me, this was an A draft. I think you accomplished exactly what you set out to. No draft is perfect, but I think you guys about as close as you could.
Thank you, Doug.
Finally, UML champion, Quake Wellington.
Oh boy.
His first pick was taking Lamar Miller. He takes Lamar Miller with that first pick, and Lamar Miller went later in a lot of our mock drafts. But should he have gone where he went? Were we too low on him in the mocks? Were we expecting people to take rookies? Did Carlo make the right choice taking the known quantity over all these rookies with all these question marks?
I think for Carlo's wide receiving core right now and what he's out to do, Lamar Miller was the best pick. Obviously, Alex Collins was the dream get, but that didn't happen. Lamar Miller, I think, is such a good fit for his team. I'm giving it an A.
Yeah, it's. I'll give it an A as well. It's not flashy. It's not. He's going to be like 10 to 12 points a game, and that's fine. And because he's not beating you at running back no matter what he drafted there, most likely, right? He could have taken Marshawn Lynch there. He'll probably score a few more touchdowns than Lamar Miller, but I think Lamar Miller will be a little bit more involved in the passing game. And there's a bunch of guys in Oakland that there just aren't in Houston. So I'll say it's an A for Lamar Miller for the team need. A couple rounds later, he grabs Ty Montgomery from the Packers. What are your thoughts on that one?
Not as crazy about this one. I think this is the worst pick probably of this draft. Looking at who you could have taken with Rex Burkhead, C.J. Anderson, even LeGarrette Blount, Peyton Barber, Isaiah Crowell. Ty Montgomery is a quality player. He's just there's better situations. So I'm gonna give it a D.
A D.
I gotta do it to Carlo.
I'll give it a C. I think Ty Montgomery. I think he's one of those guys that's a better NFL player than he is a fantasy player. It's very murky in that backfield. But you do have Aaron Jones is suspended. Jamal Williams, by all reports, looks pretty good though. But he's still going to be in non-passing downs. I think he'll have value. I just don't like where he drafted him.
Yeah.
I think that's my biggest issue with him more than the talent. But he does mitigate that problem here a little bit.
I mean, honestly, if he had switched Jameis Winston with Ty Montgomery, I think it would have made sense.
But in the 6th round, as Connor was alluding to, he grabbed Tampa quarterback Jameis Winston. Just a great pick.
That's an A.
Guy shouldn't have been there. That's an A all day long. And Carlo's kind of uniquely positioned to take him because he can use those great wide receivers that he has that won him his championship to just play OP until Winston's back, and then he can have Winston as his quarterback. Eli is OP, and as long as everything's healthy, he should be right back in the playoffs. Great pick there. And I mean, that was an easy decision to make. It was basically an intentional walk. I mean, it's landed right in his lap. Great.
Yeah.
But good job not getting cute. It's really easy to be like, oh, he keeps falling. I guess it's like if you hadn't taken him there, he was not getting back to you. So good on you there. Nyheim Hines was the pick in was that round 10? What was your thoughts on Nyheim Hines?
There's value there. The problem is it's kind of like a Ronald Jones situation. He's just not showing it. He doesn't look good, and I am a little bit worried about him. But my God, if he can just put it together, same thing with Ronald Jones. I could be so wrong about this pick, or I could be so right about this pick.
Those ones I hope I'm wrong about.
Yeah, I'm gonna give it for the round. I'm gonna give it. This is hard.
The round's not that bad.
I'm gonna give it a B still because I think Hines will put it together, and he's a pass catching back. He doesn't need to be the feature back. And maybe where I went wrong with taking Jordan Wilkins is if I'm wrong, he falls down the depth chart like nothing. If Carlo's wrong, he's still pretty much in the same position he was. So if he can just pull it together, it could be, he could have a terrible first 3 weeks, and then, something clicks finally in week 4. He could just come out and show why he was drafted. So I'm going to give it a B. I think it's a little high. I feel high taking it, but I think he could put something together.
I'm going to book this one for a C, and I think we're kind of both I think we both like the talent. I think we're kind of being not kind of ignoring what's happening here a little bit. Looking at the way the draft fell, I would have loved Darius Geis here.
Yeah,
for Carlo. I think they're probably going to have about the same value this year. And Darius Geis is just a better long-term prospect. I do like the talent, but he does. I mean, even though he's played bad, the pathway playing time is not different. But he needs to show something and show it early because you got Robert Turner coming back from suspension. Marlon Mack's going to.
He could be a guy that you keep on your bench, and it just rots away on your bench.
Yeah, a lot of opportunity cost for Nyheim Hines, but a talented guy nonetheless. Round 13, Doug Martin. What are your thoughts on Doug Martin, Oakland running back?
I mean, with the way my draft went, it's not the style I chose, and I think he regrets not taking James Conner. That's a guy he could have taken there. It still would have been way too early, but I think it still would have been better than Doug Martin. I'm going to give it a D. I think there was so much more upside from a younger guy. We know what Doug Martin can do, and even if Doug Martin has to not only beat out Marshawn Lynch, but what is his value if he does this season?
I don't even think he's guaranteed to make that team.
Yeah.
I mean, I don't know what the guaranteed money looks like, but I think this one's an F. There's no upside. If he's great. He's good for 1 year. You get yourself a running back, which helps you contend. But there's just so many obstacles in the way of that happening. I mean, this is right around the time last year where he took Adam Thielen, which helped win him the championship. So when you take a guy like Doug Martin, there's just not a lot to be gained from him. Vance McDonald got like a restructured contract, I guess, which apparently was news that no one really needed to know about. But I like the value. I think Vance McDonald is kind of a hedge against Austin Hooper's inconsistency. I'm going to give this one a B. I thought this was a decent player. I think Vance McDonald's a good player, and most importantly, he's a good player on a good offense.
I'm going to give it a B as well. And I think that was another savvy pick by somebody who knows what to do in the later rounds. I mean, I don't think people realize that they could still get it starting tight end that had any kind of value, and he went so far. I mean, there was backups and shared time guys. I mean, if my dad had taken Vance McDonald instead of Blake Jarwin, or Ray had taken Vance McDonald instead of Tyler Higbee, I mean, that's a significant improvement right away. I think that was another really great value pick by Carlo.
Yeah, and then he grabs Chris Ivory in the 17th round. I'm going to give that an A. I like handcuffs, and we've seen Chris Ivory do well in that sort of role.
I mean, he can't feel good about LaShawn McCoy, so yeah. And Chris Ivory, like you said, he's proven he can do it.
A lot of wear on those tires for LaShawn McCoy anyway.
Yeah.
So if they want to give Chris Ivory some goal line work, he might even be useful on some bye weeks. I think that was a good pick. Throw him back next year, and try again with something else. Maybe get a different handcuff. I definitely think I definitely think that was a good pick. I'll give this draft a B. Couple of snafus, I think, overall, but made a lot of really good picks as well. And this did enough, I think, to keep himself in the conversation. And he couldn't do nothing. He needed a quarterback. He needed to bolster tight end. He needed some running backs. He needed some stuff going into this draft. And not all the picks were were necessarily the best picks at the time, but I think he accomplished most of what he needed to accomplish.
Yeah.
Cool. Let's go ahead and turn off this screen share. Thanks so much for hanging out with us for 2 hours plus 2.5 hours again, you guys. Connor, is there anything you want to add before we konnichiwa these bitches?
You know what, Doug? I want to konnichiwa.
All right, guys. Well, thanks for joining us for the post-draft edition of the 2018 Ultimate Man's League Draft. Steve, you're going to have a State of the Franchise coming up here in the next few days. Probably not till like Monday when I get back to California. But for me, the Commissioner, Connor.
Konnichiwa, bitches.